Hello and welcome to episode 229 of the F.Reality podcast. If you're ready to hop into the dystopian future of Minority Report and jack into the Matrix like one of Neo's besties, then this podcast is tailor-made for you. Here on today's show, we have a few hot tamales for you to swallow on today's menu. We've got a startup that sells your underloved gadgets through the magic of augmented reality. Is Zelda playing hard to get? Look no further. Elf Girl will gobble up your candy love, no questions asked. Looking for en masse physics-based destruction in your fast-paced FPS games? Just sign our petition. And on today's show, we'll answer, can you really make a VR headset out of bubble wrap and engine grease? Let's see. Then for the finale, we'll touch on a little hands-on Frankenstein project that Adam's been tinkering with, and we ask you to stay tuned to 104 F.Reality FM. It's time to introduce our radio stars for our darling primetime listeners today. All right. This lad, he's got a passion for tinkering. He lurks about and pulls stuff together, trying to make it work, and on occasion the power goes out. But did you know he also had a career as a model? That's right. He loved all things silk, and the camera just couldn't get enough. This strapping young lad identifies as Adam Bombadi. Well, hey, wait, just a second here. Let's set the rules straight. I was just trying to fact with Jose there a second, but on your lady podcast, Adam, you can be a lady, but as we clearly established in the fine print, this is clearly a dude-only show, so don't you go flaunting your hair extensions and mani-pedis in here, damn it. You got to chew tobacco and go chop some wood. All right? So proper intro now. Please put your hands together. It's Jasmine, the VR tech.
I'm so confused, dog. I was like, is this my intro, right? Yeah, I say yes now, right? Yes, hi. That's not Jose. But yes, I'm very sad that we're not going to be talking about mani-pedis on this podcast. Very sad.
Oh, damn.
But yeah, it has been a little bit of a crazy week. I haven't been able to play any, super intense VR games lately. So I've actually been, I tried Galactic Catch, which is like, if you played like real VR fishing, it's just like that, but instead of catching real fish, you're catching these really interesting looking alien fish.
Looks rad. Looks really good. Do you like it?
I do, yeah, because I really liked real VR fishing too, but now that I get to catch weird looking fish, and they have the same sort of system where you can take them home to your ship, and you've got an aquarium that you can decorate, put them in. I don't think real VR fishing does this, but I like that you can actually change where the accessories are in the aquarium. Because I think, I could be wrong, but I think real VR fishing is just like rock, and you're like, the rock goes here, pretty much, but you can't change the position of it. But yeah, it's like, you're on an alien planet, and there's different, I guess, alien environments. Like the first one's a beach, second one's like a mushroom environment sort of thing.
Kingdom? Mushroom?
I guess. It's a fun place, I'll tell you what. But you can unlock different accessories that are themed from that map. So you can get like the mushroom environment or like the beach one or little accessories too. So I like that part. And they have missions and things like catch 3 big fish from this particular environment. So it keeps you wanting to keep going. But I don't know. I like it. I wanted something calm that I could play sitting down that wasn't too intense, that I could stop whenever, and it was perfect for that.
It looks good. I mean, like the concept of like building your aquarium through stuff that you've caught, that gripped me in Subnautica. In the later levels of Subnautica, you get big fishing tanks or whatever. You can catch those aliens, bring them back home. And then there's an inherent limit on the tank in terms of how much you can put in there. The other one, Garden of the Sea, does that really well, where you've got a little pond by your house and you can just bring back all these cute little things and fill it with that. And oh my Lord, like it feels like catching real real Pokemon, like in a VR game. And so when the second you said that, I didn't know that was in Galactic Catch. And it's one that when I saw it, like I was super excited about it because I really liked, oh shoot, what's the Resolution Games one?
Bait?
Bait. Yeah, Bait. So when Bait first launched and they didn't have like social or multiplayer, it was like such a cool game, but it was like, oh, itching for multiplayer, and then they brought that in later. Galactic Catch is single player or multiplayer?
Single player, but it seems like they're planning on adding multiplayer. So that'll be fun. I feel like you do need that because there's nothing better than just catching fish and just just chatting with somebody. I will say I wish they had that YouTube player that Real VR fishing has though, because it's nice when you're just like don't want to hear the in-game music after hearing it 1,000 times, and it's like, okay, I caught a fish, I get it. We don't have to be hyped every time. So that'd be my only gripe is that like I wish I could turn off the music or just change it, or they had a YouTube player or something. But otherwise, I've been just trying to get stuff done because I'm going to Romania tomorrow, starting tomorrow, actually.
Wow.
Just casually,
that's cool.
Well, not casually, but
casually to Romania. Huh?
We're going, it's once a year, the Live team does like a on-site meetup planning fun stuff sort of thing. So like last year was Amsterdam, this year's Romania. I guess now we're trying to go to, because we have 2 of our team members are in Romania, so I think the plan is eventually to go to everybody's countries so that you don't have to, at least one of the times you won't have to fly so far. Like for me, it's, I think, like 14 hours. I have a 3-hour layover in Germany, but
that's not bad. Yeah, that's not bad.
10 hours
At least it's not an hour. The hour layover is just dramatic. Like, I don't know. I mean, you guys have flown a lot, but like I remember pegging it through like Dublin airport with like, we had like 45 minutes between connecting flights, and then it was late, and it was like, we've like this, we are not gonna make it. We made it, but it was one of those where they had just closed the door. And they're like, all right, we'll let you in, right? But they had just shut it on us, and oh my god,
I will not do
where
1 hour
you get there
layover.
and you're breathless in your seat for like 15 minutes later, you're still breathing hard.
The person next to you's like, why are you so sweaty? What's happening? And you're just like trying to calm down after the panic of like, I can't believe I made it, and then you have to sit there for 10 hours, and that's fun.
Yeah. And then the other thing, you say Romania. I mean, I just think of the movie Hostel, so don't watch that before going. But aside from that, enjoy Eastern Europe,
Thanks. Yeah, I appreciate it. It'll be fun, and hopefully I won't get taken. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that'd be good. Don't worry, we'll send Jose after you if we need. All right. Well, that sounds good. Very good. Well, thank you for the highlights. Galactic Catch sounds like a fun one. Certainly whet my appetite for that. And chat looks like they like it too. Hey, everyone in chat, by the way, we'll get to you in a second. So next up, if what you look for when browsing through internet videos late at night is luscious locks of long flowing dark curlies, well, look no further. I'm on a trip today. Full of vigor, and with a spirited smile only someone with a name starting with J could produce, it's our personal tech trainer. And a fellow who brings the kick to F.Reality, chili con carne, it's Jose Santiago de la Mancha. Hola, mi amigo, ¿qué tal?
Oh, what's up? Bien, bien. Just good, man. Just relaxing. It's been one of those weeks where I really don't know when the week ended. I really didn't even know we had the podcast today. It's just been a blur. It's just nonstop momentum, getting projects done and wrapped up. We just finally finished the Broken Controller experience here in Fresno, California. It's opened up its doors. The Fresno State University is already there, and leadership is happy. And just seeing the press react to it all, it's a blur. But relaxing, really. Seeing people kind of, sending me message like, hey, well, I stopped by, this is awesome. Like being able to kind of start bringing in the arcades that we take for granted around the world and we see all the time and start kind of manifesting them for real in the US has been pretty cool. But as far as gaming goes, Final Fantasy 16. Oh man, I've been so anxious to talk about
it's out
this
already?
game. Yeah,
okay.
It's on the PS5. I think it's a timed exclusive. It's PlayStation 5 only at the moment, and it's been by far one of the best action JRPGs that I played in a very long time. I'm a really big action, role-playing gamer, and being able to kind of see a franchise like Final Fantasy make a really big, impactful return, and seeing them like understanding what modern RPGs look like and the graphics, the story, it's just been really my North Star between all of this chaos that's been happening in my life. It's been cool to kind of like see a classic Final Fantasy story, just a pure classic Final Fantasy story in a modern world. It's pretty much a reimagination of the first two original Final Fantasies, dealing with the crystals and what they do, and it's just it's so good. And I just wanted to make sure that any VR person, because that's what VR is all about, right? It's embodying amazing stories. And man, it was like a bottle I had popped up. What's up?
Why don't we have VR JRPGs? There's not one.
There is
exactly,
one.
There's
Right?
not one.
Arcaxer.
Right? Arcaxer, and also Zenith is a
pretty. Yeah, but like a story-driven. Okay, Arcaxer was one I bypassed. Yes. I didn't know that was the type of game. I will have to go play it. I was a huge fan of Chrono Trigger.
So good, Chrono Trigger.
Tinkered with Final Fantasy. This is weird now, very VR of me. The only Final Fantasy game that I've ever played was Monsters of the Deep, which was off of Final Fantasy 13 or 14, and it was for PSVR, right? Fucking weirdest ass fishing game you're ever gonna play. But hey, there you go. I've just dovetailed the two. It was
you're talking about Final Fantasy 5th, the one before this one actually that released, that they had the PSVR version. I don't remember the name of the game. I think it's 15.
Monsters of the Deep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it might have been 15.
Yeah.
But like it was like you got into it, there were chocobo, there was like it was all like Final Fantasy stuff in there, but having not had the background to it, it was like so weird. And the backstory is really strange. They were gonna make an FPS, and then they turned it into a Final Fantasy fishing game for VR. Like it's the weirdest backstory, but it was actually really fun to play. So yeah, if I'm gonna combine Galactic Catch with Final Fantasy 16, then boom, I've just given you a PSVR 1 baby that someone can go and find out for the first time. You know, someone who's like, oh, I don't have money for a modern headset, but I still have my PSVR, and there's no new games out for it. Oh, there you go. I've just given you one.
Yeah, so, and it's remarkable using the cinema mode, right? That's the PS5's I think really best feature. It's their theater room to be able to immerse yourself and turn off the world. It's especially for people that kind of have difficulty with that, like me. Like I get distracted
100%.
by every little moving object. So being able to just encapsulate the world around me and focus on something. It's a lot of people have been leading it right back to VR. Like I think that's really been what I'm most excited about, that people are kind of waking up to that. A lot of people hate the idea of like, oh, they're using VR as a secondary or screen replacement. It's like, what happens if it's a really good screen replacement? What happens if it is a really good singular experience? There's nothing wrong with that. Like, please, like, feed me amazing content into my eyes. If they can find a way to inject them, I'm with it. You know, just make it worthwhile.
I mean, yeah, and chat's kind of jumping up here with a couple of other things that we hadn't said. Substatica says Dyschronia Chronos Alternate.
Yes,
I've played the Chronos series games. There's a third one on the way, I believe. But it's more like a manga or something. It's like an animated feature. I don't know how you guys found it if you played it, but I found it very slow going, and it didn't cultivate the same kind of action. Like when I think of a VR JRPG, I think of those scenes where you've got multi combos between a couple of characters and turn-based animation, or it could be real time, but in VR, so you see all the effects in full stereoscopic 3D.
Yes.
Like I would really appreciate that, even just to see the world, even if it was isometric. I don't know. I feel like we could do that. You know, I feel like someone could do that very effectively. And if at all that's what Arcaxer was, then great.
I'm with it.
You know. So, because we've had some real-time strategies that were quite good back in the day, like Brass Tactics, for example, which was a really cool, like, once-off, and we still haven't had that. But I'd love, like, Company of Heroes, brought to VR. Like, those games need to come into a space where you can actually be there, because that would be really cool. But yeah, there's another one there, Ruins Magus. I haven't played it, but it was very story-laden. I don't remember. Is that the one with the fox people? Like they've all got foxtails?
That one's very JRPG. I haven't finished it, but it's kind of like, you go into dungeon. I forget what there's an official name for it, but they're essentially dungeons, and you're going and finding relics. But there is a storyline, and you've got different powers like that use various hand positions. I would say that one is very much closer to JRPG. At Dyschronia, that one's like interactive anime. Like I enjoyed it, but you have to know what you're getting into, I think, before you play it. Like you're not going to expect to actually shoot things or move around
It's
much.
not. I would say it's not Western culture,
No.
and that's the thing. Because like my wife's huge into Japanese and Japanese culture and all that, and she's studied the language, and she's always like on her app every single day, listening and learning more. And to me, that culture is like such a disparity for me. Like I find it difficult to enjoy that, even though I like a lot of anime and manga. For me is not necessarily something that I'm into, like the paperback stuff, but. I don't know. It's one of those things. People who love it, and the people who don't know what they're expecting are like, "The hell is this?" it's Marmite. It's Marmite in that space. So
I mean, the story again. I only played the first episode, but I was like, oh, it's other than the ending, which I won't spoil, which maybe is improved with the following 2 episodes. I thought, wow, this is pretty good. I was pretty interested in the story for like a interactive anime, I guess. So. I gotta try the other ones sometime.
It has a space. I kind of like that. I kind of like that term, interactive anime. The more I hear it, the more I'm like, yeah, that should be like a genre. Like I'm with it.
Well, think about all the generative AI stuff. I mean, before long, you'll be able to say, "Hey, write me an anime that I can partake in," and
tentacles
in a world with you and those tentacles always coming out. Well, anyway, let me address the ghost in the room. So whether flying over handlebars or putting up a fight, AI is going to take over our jobs, and I'll tell you from experience, he's the Cheshire Cat at night. His beard is a bittersweet souvenir, a scraggly scrub brush from Australia. So go get that hedge trimmer out, as this maple syruped Canadian is our leading talent of the show. So let's give old Rowdy a shout. As you'll notice, he's away from the show today, but he's here in spirit, just half an inch tall, and standing next to your neck with a miniature pitchfork in case any of you get out of hand. So watch out.
It's gonna be me.
So Rowdy will be back next episode. He's traveling at the minute, and his Wi-Fi is shit, so we can't bring him on today. With that, I'm going to ask chat. Let us know if there's anything else you want to highlight from your past week. I see loads of people in chat. They're talking away. Thank you very much. You guys are brimming. And hey, what's up, everybody? Very good. I just see the boys there from Between Realities, which I'll call out very briefly. I don't normally do shout outs here, but Jose, you featured on the VR show, and it was funny. I saw you and I was like, haha, that's funny. 3 months ago, I lined up to be on their next show.
Yes!
So
that's awesome.
Next Friday. And I've got kind of time off work and stuff like that. So
well, I was on there first. I think it was like last year even.
I know.
I
saw your episode from a long time ago.
Yeah.
Was that even before? I can't remember. Were you?
Yeah, it may have been before F.Reality even, because that was mostly
like around that
stuff.
time.
Yeah.
I was catching up with that yesterday, in fact.
Yeah.
That was good. Those are good. So shout out to Between Realities. Great podcast. Been enjoying that for years. If you want to know the personalities of VR, there's no better place than that. So with that, I'm going to say, okay, first off, who am I? My name is Zim, and I'm the VR streamer who enjoys long walks on the beach, and I aim to win the Nobel Peace Prize one day. Working very hard at that. But before we go any further, I'm going to first have to answer for my crimes as a gamer. Adam called me out this week for my PS5 gameplay, posting to our F.Reality group with a little picture that just said, ZimTalk 5 is playing My Friend Peppa Pig.
I mean, I figured, like, okay, it's on the PlayStation, so it had to be one of your kids, but it looked hilarious seeing that on Discord under your name. I was like, I have to say something. Well, I hope you're one of your kids, maybe. I don't know. Now I'm not sure.
In my defense, I don't know how that got there, but it is weird that Battlefield 2042 shows up as Peppa Pig. That's all I'm saying. Maybe one of those, back in the day, you could take your Steam games and change the name of the game. So you could just change it to whatever you wanted. It would say, player is playing.
I miss those days.
Good Steam days, back when you could just mock up, like you could just pretend like you were playing, like, I don't know, Diablo 4 hadn't been released yet, and you're like, ZimTalk 5 is playing Diablo 4. And your friends are like, hey, how are you doing that?
You're so cool.
Yeah. That's another one we need. We need action RPGs fucking in VR as well. Like, why don't we have those games in either? Anyway, all right, I'm going to come off my pedestal. So my VR highlight for this week is I finally descended into the eye-opening alien world that is present in Outer Wilds VR using the Nomai VR mod. After acclimatizing to the basic controls, which include like flying VR spacecraft and just wandering about with a couple of weird alien weapons, the best way I can describe this game without giving away too much, because it's one of those special, it's like an Easter egg that you don't want to open before you open it. You know what I mean? Like, it's definitely a spoiler sensitive game as it stands. So I'm going to be as nebulous as possible while still giving you some tactile feel for what the game kind of entails. So after I got down the basic controls, the best way to describe it, I would say, is it's an alien solar system, a bit like the VR game 1111, which has you counting down kind of 11 minutes to disaster before the sun blows up. And the system is in trouble that you're in this world. So like Mass Effect and other games, things just aren't right, and you've got to leverage your own exploration of that environment and the wisdom of those who went before you, like, you know, an alien race that was there before you and all that. So in a very Subnautica style manner, in like piecemeal format, you're like putting together facts and story pieces and learning a bit more. You go into the game like not knowing anything. You feel like a newborn. And from the film world alone, I definitely felt like alone and drifting in the ether at some times. And at other times, you're like full DEFCON 5, like red alert, and your like eyes are wide open, your hands are gripping your controller tightly. Like it's a very, it's like a police job. It's like very exciting at some times, and other times you're just like floating away in space because you pushed the wrong button. Whoops, indeed. I loaded myself into a cannon by mistake and shot myself off into space. So yeah, and the game isn't like, it's not got an easy reset button. So you're like, feck, now I'm drifting for 5 minutes and thinking about what I did, you know? So, but it's really good in that respect. It gave you the sense of kind of like being out on your own in space, and very few games can captivate that in such a kind of a present manner. And I felt the VR controls in the mod were pretty good. Now, there's something about my configuration that's marring my experience a little bit. I got several crashes, probably 8 or so in like a 4-hour game run. You know, it does do kind of auto saves and stuff, so I didn't lose too much progress, which would have been a lot worse. But as you kind of peel away layers and learn more about the game world, I've starting to fall in really deeply curious about Outer Wilds and what it's got. And I'm the kind of guy, like if you put me in the game like Minecraft or something, I'll just, you know, like building a project in a house and I'm just running over the hills trying to figure out, is there a cave over there? I'm an explorer at heart. And this game really does captivate a lot of that. But I equate it to a film that I'm a big fan of, which is Interstellar. For those who maybe haven't seen it, there's like a gravity world they come upon. And it's like, you know, what is their normal on that planet could easily be the end of your existence. And so you have to kind of be on the constant lookout, and your brain's all like running to keep pace with what are the rules of the road here. So I certainly felt in a few situations in this game, like naked and unawares to the conditions in the operating environment on the new planet. And you go planet to planet with this thing. So really cool so far. I've been told that I haven't even seen, you know, half or whatever of the game has to offer. So I'll be doing that a bit more. But if you're into kind of like simple modding stuff, this is just, it requires a launcher. Kind of like if you've done that for like Bone Lab, like you download a launcher, you install a couple of simple mods, and you click a button, and that's it. It's not like Skyrim modding or anything like that. It's really, you know, 10, 15 minutes tops, and you're ready to go. So that was that. Have either of you played around with Outer Wilds, either in VR or not?
No, I keep confusing Outer Wilds for Outer Worlds. So at first I was like, oh, Outer Worlds, like that. I like that game. But then I was like, oh no, wait, that's the other one. It's unfortunate they have such a similar name, and I get confused like most of the time.
And they were launched really at a close time to one another as well. It wasn't like it was confusing to me up to the point that I pressed purchase, and I was even then going like, does this have VR support? Like, did I buy the wrong one? But it was on sale during the Steam stuff, so I go ahead and picked it up. So. Very good. Well, why not? What's Phil saying? Oh my God, the Outer Wilds VR mod is the most amazing gaming experience I've ever had. With a few hints from the internet, I was able to finish such an amazing game. Seemingly only indie games have to offer. Yeah, it's really cool. They do a lot of things really well, and I had slack-jawed moments. And I've played 1,600 VR games, so I was like, fuck, like I was literally F-bombing my way through some sequences. It's that cool. So definitely I would recommend it. Let's go into the news for some appetizers and jump right in. So first off, As reported by the Financial Times, the production of Apple Vision Pro, which is Apple's brand spanking new aluminum and glass battle cruiser that's due out in 2024, has been limited down from an earlier estimate of 1 million, down just to 150,000 units in the first year. That's quite a dramatic cut, down to like 15% of the original target. Apparently stems from production challenges. It seems, though, that newscasters do hop on this stuff almost like this is like what, a month after the original announcement, and now they're jumping on it just like they did with the Sony's head thing. Like, so what is the doom and gloom? I guess it just gets the clicks or whatever. Fair enough. But behind this, right, ultra high resolution OLED displays, the necessary yield of defect-free displays being a key factor in limitations in supply chain here. It's understandable, particularly for Apple, because they have a certain quality bar to meet. I remember there was a horrible statistic I remember hearing about the original iPad, where like literally they were making 10 iPads to sell you one. Like 9 were getting scrapped and 1 was going in a box. And that was just like, as someone who loves technology, I'm just always kind of very worried about that kind of stuff. In the same article, it also alluded to the fact that Apple will get Samsung to make displays for a more affordable headset back into as far away as 2026. But the idea being that instead of $3,500, maybe you'd get something from Apple that was $1,000 or $1,500, something that's a little bit more palatable for us mere humans. So not surprised at that. 3 years isn't a long time in the VR realm, honestly. So I'm happy to wait. Plus, it's Apple, so probably won't buy it anyway.
Yeah,
and that's Apple.
Good for you. Who's gonna get it if you get it? I guess.
Yeah.
I still want to see it. I still want to play with it.
Show,
I'm still glad people who can.
Yeah, and it goes to show why a lot of people that speculate on or were talking about the release about the headset leading up to its announcement, they were saying how a lot of people behind the scenes were not happy with its early announcement, and it goes to show why. A lot of people were kind of like, a lot of people that are fans of Apple, when they announced the Vision headset, a lot of people didn't picked up on the fact that it was Cook who announced it, and usually Tim Cook doesn't talk about design. It's usually Johnny Sroor, I forgot his name, but the designer who is their SVP of design is usually the person that talks about the design approach to how they got there. And that didn't happen with the Vision Pro, which made me, a lot of people were speculating maybe behind the scenes they were unhappy with how they're going to deliver these headsets, and maybe we're going to start seeing the design challenges and the reality of mass producing these not affecting just Apple, but now if this is the sad reality. If everybody uses Apple as the North Star about what things can be possibly done, if they're struggling with the mass producing this headset, I don't even want to imagine what everybody else is dealing
Apple,
with.
So,
yeah. The other thing I would say about that is, just from a kind of an Apple perspective, right? I was trying to ground myself in the previous numbers, and I'm sorry I couldn't show it to you. I found this great statistical website that showed what the DK1 and DK2 numbers were in shipment in their first years. It wasn't a lot. It wasn't even 100,000 units. I think it was like 50,000 or 70,000 for the DK1. And in some markets, and this is numbers that have been aggregated on the web, so maybe it's not officially reported statistics, and Palmer might wag his finger and say, no, we did much more than that. But like some of the Latin American markets were like, 10 headsets to this island or 5 to that island, very, very small numbers depending on where you're living. And then like 50,000, to mainland, US or North America market. And then the DK2 kind of doubled that, right? Did some better numbers. But it really wasn't until the Quest days that, Oculus and co found huge success. I mean, CV1 was rightly successful, but it's Apple's first headset. So I'm not worried, but I think it was worthwhile reiterating that, next year, even if you want one, you might have difficulty getting your hands on. So put your pennies aside and make sure you're ready to F5 like mad when pre-orders open for that. Okay. Next, we've got a nifty new startup that's been announced by ex-founder of Live and Rec Fitness, who goes by Six, CIX. Don't know the story behind his name, but I'm sure it's out there somewhere.
Actually.
World of Warcraft.
Was it?
Yeah, Six Live was his World of Warcraft character. Fun fact.
Ha! Ha ha ha. And the Live was integrated in there even before Live the company?
Yeah. He changed, I don't know what his actual last name is, but his last name is Live. So, or is now live when he changed it. So he is a necromancer. Necromancer, 6 live, and then eventually Live the company was born.
So badass.
It's awesome. I always love hearing these origin stories. It's really funny. I get that question quite a bit, being a Zim. He shared on Twitter a new offering called Vendor that claims to leverage, I'll say, eBay or Facebook marketplace-like item sales using AR, pass-through, and AI. So it was shown in the trailer for this concept, which is just going into beta in a local area. I think it's San Francisco, or was it LA? There's item detection determining what the item is through, I guess, the iOS stack. And in this case, they're kind of mocking it up now, getting ready with the tools that have been released to developers. But the idea is you could have in front of your hands an item. In this case, I think it was a Nintendo Switch. The headset will determine its condition, its value, ask you a few things that you're able to voice back for kind of posting the ad, connect you with a potential buyer, price it around the appropriate kind of range for a headset, and then within seconds, find you a buyer and, matchmake, essentially. And I remember there was a great quote, I wish I had it in front of me, by Bill Gates, which said that business is all about matchmaking, connecting buyers and sellers. So this, looking at it as somebody who's got, after an international move, still boxes of stuff to kind of get rid of or sell or pass on to somebody else. I think of all the investment time in form filling, photo taking, all this kind of stuff, right? And if you can cut some of that stuff out, make my workflow faster, well, I'd be very, very, very thankful. And my only thoughts there are, aside from being yes, please, are I'm curious about some of the nuances here, like what's their business play? Are they taking 5%, 10%, a fixed transaction fee? Like, how does the financial model work? I'd be really curious, and I didn't see that exposed yet.
Yeah, so I'm more interested in the tech stack. I think what I remember, Six is a homie, so I talked to him quite a bit. So one of the what I'm mostly interested about is the fact that he's a hardware guy, right? So he understands VR better than a lot of people, especially in the business world, is the understanding of the optical sensors that these headsets have, right? So we obviously from the trailer, we only are thinking about the optical, the visual, but think of the layers, the depth sensors that these headsets have. So you'll probably be able to even detect deep scratches in glasses or in the glass, or that may not be optically viewable, or different filters, because you'll be able to use that in real time. Like you may be I'm very interested on that part. It's that you'll be able to visually see something on a virtual replication of what the person is selling, and you'll be able to look at it through different visual filters that was also captured natively. So maybe you're looking at it in visual, it looks really nice until you use like an IR filter, and then you can see like a deep scratch that just doesn't look on a visual surface on the optical screen. So you're going to start seeing a lot of weird that defects, things that we see on digital twin technology.
The science behind that imaging layer is really cool. Like these headsets are loaded with tech, and what they can achieve, like you're saying, right? It's almost untapped at the moment. This is maybe the first app that I've seen which is really kind of taking that tech and saying, hey, let's make a business around it. Right?
It's incredible. It's a very smart. The last time I ever seen something in this or technology way is the digital twin stuff they're using for oil rigs, where they're using drones to detect physical differences or weathering. I haven't seen this like on consumer to sell. It's awesome. It's like, man, that's such a great idea. So it's shout out to Six for sure.
Yeah, it's cool. And again, when you've seen someone again like a Palmer Luckey, right, where like they do one crazy idea and it works, and they do another crazy idea and it works. Like I love those kinds of founders, because you have to throw everything in you as a person on the line, along with business, along with the money side, right? You have to have a head for business and be able to make it worthwhile as well. All that stuff is a giant balancing act. Love product designers, product managers like that who come up with that stuff. So
you know what I realized?
Yeah, always looking to one up.
This actually has more than 3 letters in this product. Because he's had, right? Live, your, rec, but vendor GG. Wow, we're expanding a little bit here.
Double. I mean, we expect twice as much from you, Six.
Yeah.
There you go.
No, but I think this is cool because I've sold a lot of stuff on eBay, and it is so I mean, it's gotten better, but it's still tedious to have to do the title, listing, all the categories and pictures and all that crap. So I don't know if I would necessarily need something like this in VR, but even just to take my phone and be like, here's what this is, pull all of the information and autofill it, so I don't have to do that because it's awful. Like, I would hire somebody to do that. It's so annoying. It's an annoying task. So I like the concept. It seems like he said this is coming on iOS and a Discord bot. I don't know how that is going to work, like Discord bot wise and everything. But
I didn't understand that integration either, but we'll
see.
It's not social. Must be something else. Maybe that's just their integration layer, you know, with their cloud equivalently. That might be it. Discord's an easy API for hooking, I would imagine. That's probably what it's there for. Okay, so there's that. Those are kind of two bits about AR. Let's go on to the third one. One more nifty AR piece from Twitter is kind of similar to weather reporting stuff we've seen before. We used to see those, like, I think it was Florida, like hurricane strength, water flood levels, where you're, you know, reporter's standing in the middle of a storm and he's like, this is 3 feet, this is 9 feet. So people realize exactly what that looks like and how scary it can be. Well, now there's this really cool concept in a room with like a proper LED stage panel lit room. And it's based on your gestures and sound mapping that a storm is happening all around you on this stage. And I look at this thing, Adam's now showing it on the live feed, but think of going to a party or something where you've got this like giant storm all around you. That's your, you know, dance floor at your wedding or what, I don't know. It looks pretty fucking rad. Like, go to a party like that. That looks pretty sick.
It does. I feel like in this particular one, I feel like I'd get sick somehow, though, because there's too much rapid movement going on in a room, and I'm just like, I don't know what's happening. I'm not moving, but everything else is moving. So I can see it in cool use cases, but this particular one, I'm like, Jesus, I'd get so sick, I think.
A room full of drunk people, man, there'd be so much vomit
Liquid
just
around.
flying everywhere. Yeah, people get real life seasick.
Gross.
That's kind of like how I lucid. It's like lucid dreaming to me. That's how I lucid dream. My lucid dreaming is that I feel like I'm in a glass box, seeing the world happen inside, like outside the glass box. So
really,
yeah, that's kind of how exactly what it looks like to me. It's like, whoa.
It reminds me of a game that it was a side-loaded game called High Seas VR, which put you in command of a ship on, I think it was Oculus Go. And it was one of these side-loaded titles, or Samsung Gear VR, I think, could do it as well. But you were off on a boat, and it was almost like a room escape. In other words, you were in a boat in a fixed position with like handles or levers and things you could manipulate. And you could go back to the engine room and manipulate that or fix the engine. But the idea was have your ship survive a monster storm. And you don't need George Clooney or whomever to appreciate it. It was insane being in when like these giant waves. I know we were talking about Interstellar and they feature in that film, but these giant like ship killing waves were coming across your bow in VR. And you were having to like turn the ship and all that through these rudimentary like 3DOF controls. It felt a little clunky, but it still felt immersive. And we still haven't seen like a storm bearing game like that. Again, you know, sail your ship across the ocean blue or whatever. I imagine water physics and all of that would be kind of difficult to do, but yeah. So if you haven't heard or seen that, there's another one. If you got an old Oculus Go headset, I don't know if you can even download stuff from the store anymore, but or sideload. All that might be shuttered at this point. But High Seas was pretty rad. Okay, so those are 3 like AR projects. Just wanted to spot. That's kind of us on the dance in the direction of mainstream, from newscasters to Apple. But speaking of things going mainstream, we previously talked on this show about comedian Tom Segura, the war hero who got caught with his buddies in Fallujah and his love of VR. So here's another mainstream lad who's smitten with VR, and his excitement for the medium was just infectious. He's a well-known UFC and jiu-jitsu fighter who was featured on Joe Rogan's MMA podcast, a guy called Serra. and his power level went well over 9,000 in his hype when he was talking about Population 1 and his love for the game. It's been a couple of years, so some of you might not know what Pop 1 is. It's a Battle Royale title that's been going strong for quite some time across multiple platforms, and it recently went free to play on Quest. So if you didn't realize that, go get your free gaming on, because that game is fun, and hey, there's nothing like popping a banana in the middle of a firefight. But aside from thinking that that particular, that Matt, this bald, muscular man, was just some kind of genetic clone of Joe Rogan himself when I first saw the clip, and like the old film Multiplicity, he didn't start licking pizza to my chagrin. But here's a few fun quotes from that feature. So this guy said, "I sure get some dopamine. I'm fucking yelling, I'm gonna snipe, I'm gonna snipe. And as I'm shooting, my wife comes in and smacks me in my balls saying, yeah, you think you're getting some later? Because he thinks he's like hot shit when he's like sniping away in this game and he gets super amped up. And then he says he's like, I can't go back to regular games after Oculus Quest. It's just so immersive. Firstly, I love that he said Oculus again. Haha.
Still.
I'll just say that again. Still, right? And I still think it should be that way. But man, this guy, like seeing somebody get so hyped up about it, and he's had a vibe. He's not new to this, right? But he's still so animated. It, as a guy who's very much an admittedly closet gamer, because I'm like, I bank by day, I game by night, right? I'm aware of opinions of others, looking down on gaming, and as almost like a poor life choice. Like my parents both kind of rejected the whole gaming thing generally. My brother went and became a beef eater, like Jim Buff guy, after we used to LAN as Counter-Strike, and he gave up all of that. So for me personally, when you see somebody like a real normie being so over the moon about the whole thing, I just eat that enthusiasm up, and it's like a personal model for me. That is, it's something I still kind of personally deal with. Like I'm really excited. I can talk excitedly with you guys, but if I'm in the room with somebody who's like, nobody's a gamer, you'll see me clam up. Right. And I've been that way a lot. So this is a sad thing to say, but like, I feel for gay guys who like have to come out of the closet, so to speak. Cause I had to do that at one point, like with my boss at work, where I was like, my big hobby is like, I'm into games and stuff, and it's difficult. It's difficult. And it's funny. It's kind of silly, but I feel it. It's a real thing. It's just, so I love seeing people in normal mainstream get so animated about it. I can't wait to see more of that. I know for me, it's a guarantee. Like that's definitely coming.
It's so
right? Like,
VR definitely has the potential to do that, and it's so cool. I saw that interview. I love MMA. I don't know if I ever mentioned that, but I follow MMA. I love fighting sports, and being able to VR is the only I think gaming-esque medium that can definitely make it cool. It definitely has a cool factor there. It breaks down the barrier of that old school stigma. It's like, oh, you're sitting down playing video games, but now you're actually moving around and actually using your body to do things. And it's really cool that MMA fighters, people who are in the athletic world, are kind of the right candy with the medicine for getting people into VR. So I just I keep hoping that there was actually another. I thought you were going to talk about that when you mentioned MMA, but there was a video that recently also went viral, which was showing combat sports using VR, and I wish I could have post the link on that. I'll probably post it after the post on the Twitter.
Where they were doing karate with the Pico headsets, and
they were doing karate.
Wow.
Yes.
Oh. Yeah, because it's something like leg tracking, or were they using emotion? I remember seeing it and thinking, I was like, I don't buy it. Like, I love the idea, the concept, but I was like, yeah, no way that's good enough right now. And
they were using sensors, but I don't know what the sensors were tracking really.
Forget what they were using. I saw that as well, and maybe a week ago or so, but we're getting there. We're definitely getting there. And the cool thing is, like, doesn't matter how you are today. You can get fit, you can get hot looking, like just playing VR games every day. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy that like you said, VR gaming is not, this is a very different type of gaming, right? It's full in, it's all involved. And it is that much richer. And it means to me, like, whereas you might just want to have a quick bite of chocolate bar, it's like having the full chocolate fudge cake. That's what VR is like for me. Like, and I have to pick my days carefully. I'd be like, okay, it's a fudge cake day. I'm getting the headset on, 5 hours deep, I'm going, right? And that's how I treat it. It's almost like in my immersion tank. I disappear for a while. I get immersed. And like you, Jose, I use that cinema mode, which to some people they might, turn their nose up at it, but I use that to reduce the distractions around me when I have time and I don't have to be watching after a kid or, keeping some animal alive. You can just disappear for a little while, forget the real world and go to a different world. And it's super fun, as you said. So, but I feel like that's good for your, VR can be really good for your mental health as well as your physical well-being. And these guys are showing it, and it's so great. Just, I love seeing their excitement for it. And generally speaking, you'd think, someone like on Joe's podcast that they just tear us all a hole on this, but they don't. They generally say it's too good, and that's why I don't do it. Or, for the people who abstain from VR and do know what it's like Joe himself, he tries to stay away from games because it would destroy his career, and I totally understand, especially when you got that much money and fame. So with that, and if you can't be yourself, well, don't worry. Because soon, the friendly devs behind Wanderer are going to help you be someone else with both eye tracking and full-body metahumans from the Unreal Engine 5 engine. The recreation of Wanderer, which I'll remind you was Zim's Game of the Year in 2022, is coming to life again, only a little bit more than a year later, across multiple platforms, including PSVR 2. My platform of choice at the moment. And the title is called The Fragments of Fate for this new game. So we might have touched on this on a previous podcast, but they keep giving us more detail. And seeing this in the mirror stare of your metahuman character just looks really captivating, especially when you can, make eye contact with yourself in the mirror and you're like checking yourself out.
Yeah.
Don't I look fancy?
Man.
My bling,
I feel like a terrible VR person to say that I hadn't played Wanderer yet, but for sure now I'm kind of not glad, but I'm happy because I really want to try it on the PlayStation now, seeing all this. Like, that is so cool. So you know what? I do feel guilty that yes, I haven't played it yet, but I will for sure now play it on the PlayStation because I love that kind of stuff. Anything sort of Avatar-y or, using the eye tracking, which is so unique to, the PlayStation. I can't wait. I'm so excited they posted this because then it just, again, makes me feel like slightly less guilty about not having tried it on Steam yet.
It looks really high fidelity, even compared to the game that they put out. Again, they probably developed that 2-3 years ago or something, but it's maybe a 2x factor of resolution and detail. And I don't just mean like they've moved the texture and doubled it. I mean, in the objects in the scene and the details, the dead astronaut on the moon, like there's all this stuff, and you go through so many ages. And again, I'll keep the spoiler free, but it's like that game is like, for me, it was like 15 hours of some of the best VR gaming. I mean, I would put it up there next to like an Alex level experience. I think I liked Wanderer a little bit better than Alex personally. The puzzles aren't easy, nor are they, mist level, like sizzling your gray matter. But I think you'll find a lot of fun. Like you'll find moments of frustration, but then you'll want to walk through the scene again a couple times. Your brain will piece it together and you'll find your way through it. So if I can do it, you can do it for sure.
I don't know. I don't play Myst game. Well, I used like a long time ago, so I don't know. Not that you said it's anything compared to Myst, but puzzles and me don't always get along very well. But I would be willing to give it a shot just from all of the really great things that I've been seeing about Wanderer. And I feel bad. I don't feel like it's talked about as much.
It's like not talked about enough,
surprising.
Which is why I think this play is super smart, because Wanderer got some fanfare, but it came out of left field. It was released like January 22, and then a lot of people liked it, but it didn't really get much fanfare. And so them reinvesting and re-releasing it is, I think, from their side, they must think, oh, this is a kind of a dangerous move. But when you've got gold and it's done really well, putting it on a new platform, bringing new detail to it, that's super smart. I hope they make triple what they made the first time around.
Yeah, that's smart.
On that game. So there you go.
I love the aesthetic. I definitely was scared and concerned to join Adam in admitting that I'm not playing it, but looking at the aesthetic and the art style, I think I'm comfortable also admitting that I haven't played it, because it's definitely something I might actually pick up.
This is the thing, like people will have, and I only barely picked it up after, I think it was Mike and Nathan had suggested it to me, having, when they had gotten kind of early access to it. And then I waited almost a year before I played it. And when I played it, I was like, feck, this is really great. And there's a few of those titles in VR where you're like basically unmissable. And so you should both definitely play it on PSVR 2. Although I don't replay games. I almost never replay games, but this one Maybe because it looks so different, you know? Anyway, and if you can't afford a whole game, why not just pay an elf girl to eat candy on TikTok?
Oh.
Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. You too can live your best life shoving peppermint treats into this fairy here, Sally. Cherry Crush TV, who brands herself as your very own AI Tamagotchi, is known for mimicking idle animations and reacting to when people send gifts. Gifts, not gifts. Well, gifts and gifts.
Gifts.
Sometimes gifts can be a gift. And
Oh yes.
this is a trend that's been bubbling up for over the last year. It's the trend of NPC streaming, where people act like non-player characters on TikTok Live for gifts, and it's been going viral. Cherry was an ASMR YouTuber in 2015 and amassed millions of followers since. She's an English-American content creator in Miami, Florida. So just right up your street there, Jose.
This is your people.
Yeah, I would like to admit what I moonlight now. I didn't know you were going to expose me on F.Reality like this, but.
I would love it if that was so true. You like pull a mask on, dude. That'd be amazing. I'd pay to feed you candy, Jose.
Oh man, yeah,
like,
and it's so bizarre. I this entire and you said it's been happening for almost a year. It's actually happening before that. This is like an evolution of something that's been stemming for quite a bit. A lot of people don't realize is that repetitive patterns for kids end up evolving. Like I don't know if you guys have seen the research on this, but there are kids who are developing lisps because they're imitating the content creators who are imitating this.
Oh,
so their language, the way they talk, the way there's actually people who have developed reprogramming issues because they have been doing this for long sessions to the point that it reprograms their speaking, their behavior patterns,
Jeez.
it's
Do you mean because of the auto interrupt? Like when you're speaking, but then you, like an NPC would talk, you interrupt your own sentence? And
Correct.
so you're
Wow.
okay. These like speech participles are in there.
There is a lot of social coursing that's happening with these tools. Actually, I learned. I don't know if you guys ever heard of the millennial pause, but it's something that I learned through TikTok. It's something that kids do not like, and it's when you start a video. And if you think of millennial videos of YouTube back in the day, the video would start with somebody going, and then they start talking. They don't. If you look at modern YouTube videos, that small pause of time is time wasted, and time is what these kids care about the most. That's why they're optimizing the views and the videos. Like there's videos now where they have a person live streaming playing a game while also drawing, while also having the chat on the screen.
So much where it's like whatever is that? It's always the same game, like random like Flappy Birds or something during the. And I'm like, this is too much. But maybe because I'm old or older for
it's
that.
Exactly that. It's exactly that.
It's so weird.
They are now attuned to be. I remember a comedian was talking about this. They're like, how many screens can I get between me and the television? Like I need my iPad, my phone, a Switch, and then the TV. And honestly, being completely honest, my average session when I'm watching something is 3 screens. I've got 3 screens going. I'm watching a kid on a baby cam or something. I'm checking my social feed and I'm watching a movie. And probably a 4th thing as well. Maybe I have my laptop open doing some work or whatever. It's like, it's mad that we're there now, but that content is evolving. This is another example of that evolving. And I have to pull out, we've done this before on the show, but Anton Hand from H3VR and known for his kind of push into VR. Some of the things he says just hit the nail on the head so hard, and this is one of them. So this is Anton's feedback on this otherwise kind of daunting, scary look at content creation. He says, I love coming across a piece of media that triggers a genuine feeling of revulsion to self-analyze with. In this case, it is that this vid so perfectly distills what we are all doing now as media makers. This performer has just optimized it all the way to the fucking bone. And in what we're seeing, just to narrate again for those who couldn't see the video, right? It's a girl with elf ears who's all makeup up, and she's reacting to gifts of like treats or food on screen, like she's nomming them, like nom nom nom, and then she'll do something else, and then someone gives more food and it's nom 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 again. It's all very repetitive action, like Jose was talking to. But I agree with Anton. It's really, really interesting to see the direction that content creation is taking. You can totally kill me if you ever see me doing that, because no way.
You don't want to do repetitive motion?
We've all done. Yeah, there's there's sites for that, but it's like I don't know. It's a really interesting thing that there's an audience for this. It's similar to the sand sifters on TikTok, who there's a bed of sand, they're pulling gifts or rocks, shiny rocks out of the sand, and people just they enjoy that. It's like opening Pokemon cards, right? It's like this little element of surprise, a little dopamine hit for you.
I think it's something to do with I forget what they called it, but it's granular manipulation. I think that we're obsessed with having the ability to not manipulate, but to create some kind of effect on whatever we're watching. That's why TikTok has figured out better than anyone interactivity. Live stream Twitch was kind of like the first part of it of getting people to interact with the viewer. But what happens when you have somebody that they Twitch kind of had the person playing a video game talking to the audience, but now you're interacting with the audience directly, which is the person who's commenting is actually affecting you directly. Yeah. So anything that allows the viewer or the person that's on the screen to interact with the person, because the licks and the ice cream, those licks cost money. Right. So you're paying money. This is webcam modeling psychology almost. And we're going to start seeing weird, that's a weird one, but there's also like the exciting fun ones, right? Like there's an Asia, I don't know if anyone's doing it in the US, but there's Asian DJs now who are DJing on a platform that is using the chat room to individualize each username as a person dancing on the dance floor.
That's so cool.
So when you look, it was. So if you enter the TikTok live feed, you see yourself dancing, and you just see this like little stick character dancing with your avatar's head. So if you pay money, you can change the dance moves. So if you like the song and you pay like a few cents buying those little stickers, your character starts dancing differently, and now you have people chatting on the screen just so they can manipulate the character they're looking on the stage. We're also seeing a really cool case study that I probably shouldn't be talking here because somebody's going to steal it, but if they want it, go ahead. There's a business model that's being born where people are controlling RC cars on TikTok or on Twitch.
I geek out over
so
stuff
you log
like
in
that.
on Twitch.
So cool. I love those kind of integrations.
Yes. It's so fun.
A couple years ago we covered it was a place that's not too far from what was it called? It was like Isotopia, Chernobyl. You could drive battle tanks through a city of Chernobyl, multi-tier level, with tanks that were maybe the size of a shoebox, and you'd get credits.
Yes.
And you were live streaming the camera and controlling the tank that was sitting there I think it was in either Ukraine or it was one of those European bloc countries. And the lag was pretty close. And so like Rowdy and I think it was Rowdy and I went head to head, and we went playing like, and you shoot the other person's tank and you go pick up like almost AR pickups as well. And it's all there controlled, and humans are there to do it. And so you you rent time, and you rent a tank and you drive against other people.
So cool.
It's fucking awesome. Yes. It was awesome.
Yes.
And they had to shut down in the end. I think they're closed now, but they only just shut down shortly after the Russia-Ukraine stuff kicked off. They were kind of limping for a while there.
If anyone wants to bring this to
Isotopia,
I'm here. Like, reach out to me. I'm ready to make it happen. This is something I've been wanting to do for a while. It's but that's exactly what it is. It's the direct feedback control that is such a. It really is enticing. Like I to be honest with you, the video that you're talking about, I saw. I wish I didn't watch it for as long as I did, because I was so fascinated by it, because people were really giving this chick money for interacting with the gifts, and it's like, wow, like
exactly.
And when you start really knowing the business model behind TikTok, and knowing that each ice cream scoop is like $3 and they're like flying on the screen, that's really the magic. That she's like, wow, she is raking up in like the 10 minutes I've been watching this at least $100,000 just people gifting her stuff. It's awesome.
That's crazy. People love the power, though, and I think empowering your audience to interact where you can feels great. I mean, I remember watching interactive Skyrim streams where we dropped 100 cheese wheels on the head of the character for the guy who was live streaming it, or you spawn in a dragon and they get eaten, or whatever the case is. Like that interactivity in in streams is very powerful. I use it in my own show. And that's generally people like to torture me for money or food. And it's like, yeah, feck it. It's great. It makes for a very entertaining, unique show. So, by no means am I saying bad things about this gal. It just, there's no fucking way I'd be able to do that. Right. And the people who put that NPC behavior thing on, like the ones who've done it for videos or TikToks or whatever, but for to do that for a long form live stream, that's gotta be tough. And like Jose was saying, probably changing you at a DNA level at some point. You are reprogramming
if that
yourself.
Starts to become habitual outside, you're like, oh yeah, I'm not streaming. Stop doing this idle animation. I wonder if that would start to, you do it so long, it starts to affect you outside of streaming,
Oh man, like somebody gets bought up by a corporate company and they break character halfway through a stream. It's like, I no longer want to be owned by this. Stops interacting. Don't send me no more ice creams.
She never has ice cream ever again in her life.
That's a Black Mirror episode. That's what I want. That's a Black Mirror episode. Somebody who has been reprogrammed doing live streams 24/7 and they just snap just halfway through.
There's a good horror film like that. I think it's called Cam. I think it's just CAM, which is a live streamer who has her identity stolen or something like that. And it shows you the whole behind the scenes and motivation of it. It was really makes a good watch. I don't think it was too much of a slasher either. So I don't remember though. So buyer beware if you go and watch that thing.
Let's make quick before you end it. Let's make the podcast interactive. Yep. Let's definitely find a way to have the chat. Maybe we could put shock collars if somebody's bored with the topic. They can shock us remotely. Like
you can wear the shock collar, not me. I'll pass on that
one. I'd pay to shock Jose too. Eat candy, shock. Just 2 buttons, right?
No, it's the what is it? The OWO vest. We would just have to equip ourselves with that, figure out how to integrate it with Twitch, and then people could just shock random parts of our muscles for fun or money.
Falling out of the chair. Yeah. Oh my God. All right. The future of F.Reality is looking bleak. Well, on the last podcast, we spoke about Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg getting into the ring, and hey, they seem to be going at it corporate style now. In a well-timed move by Meta, they launched a new social app called Threads, which allows you to import your existing Instagram social ties, and overnight was a pretty big boom, leading to more than 100 million users in a week since launch. Now, maybe Elon will say that's half bots, but I don't know who's counting, right? It seemed to be pretty popular, or their campaign worked. I love the idea of actually importing an existing social network, an existing social platform to springboard from and do the social network thing. So the network doesn't have to organically grow from basic principles, because I feel like that's just not going to work, or not going to work easily. So I thought that was a very smart play. But yeah, did you guys jump on that? Did you get a Threads account? Like, what's your take on the whole thing?
I did. I've made a total of 1 post so far. I'm working on it. Because I have been sad about sort of the Twitter changes lately and all the weird Musk things. So even though I feel like I'm kind of switching from one evil to another evil, I'm like, well, I guess there's not really many other options that are, like you said, sort of self-populating, because I used to use Instagram. Yep. So it was kind of nice to almost reconnect with people that I hadn't talked to on Instagram in years, to be like, oh yeah, okay, this person's still alive. That's great. So the only thing is, I wish it was on browser too, and that might be a rarity. I realize most people probably are using these kinds of apps on their phones now, so that's a priority. But man, I use Twitter on my browser a lot, so I really, really, really would love browser Threads eventually. But I'll give it a shot. So far, it's clean, it's simple. So far, there's no ads on it, so I'm sure it's not going to take long. But
yeah, I was gonna say that
we'll see.
Can't take long for Meta. What about you, Jose?
I got 2 posts on you, Adam. So I got 3 total. I've been on it since day 1. Actually, the day before day 1, I got a little invite code. So I love the approach. I think this is, I like to call it the Twitter for Gen Z. This is, it's definitely going to create a different approach to like rapid social media. I think it's actually solidifying Twitter's space and position. You mentioned your browser control. I think Twitter's going to become what it weirdly was being used for already before the takeover, which is more professional-ish social media without the AIs going rampant and all that. I love their imaging compression, like little nerd stuff like that. Like the fact that they're using Instagram's image compression and video compression on a rapid platform like Threads. You don't see that with Twitter. You know, it's like good luck trying to upload a 1080p video, even if you're paying for the $8 subscription and all that. It's not optimized for media, and I think that's what Threads does really, really well from the get-go. And also solidifies Mark, right? Because we kind of start associating Mark with VR, and we forget Mark is a connections person. He is a network. He's a social media person. It's really what he does best. So being like Threads was not made in a month. You know what I mean? Like you can tell that this existed for quite a while. He was just waiting for the right moment to pull the trigger, and the whole beef with him on public, trying to fight with him. I don't know if we're gonna touch on that a bit, but also the politics behind platforms, right? Because that's kind of the really big value that's also kind of happening, where Twitter's positioning itself with an old school to the internet approach, which is anonymous voices must be heard regardless if they're anonymous or not. And Mark is every account must be accountable for what they're saying. And
yeah, I mean, it's interesting. So I'm in third place here in the F.Reality run. I don't have a single post. There's a reason. I've been banned for 180 days for my sins. So something that took me by surprise. This has taken me by surprise with Mark's products before, back in the Facebook era. So I went to set up an account. I was like, all right, ZimTalk5 or whatever. I didn't have an Instagram account because years ago, some teenager in England, I think, picked up for some reason ZimTalk5 and sat on my name, and I was like, fuck you, Instagram. I'm not going to do it. And so I never made an Instagram account after that. And fast forward, I don't know, 10 or 15 years. Now I'm like, shit, now I need a fucking Instagram account. So I tried to put in, I don't know, ZimVR Live or some alternative account name, submitted, click through, and it's like, you're not who you say you are. And this isn't a real name, and therefore you can't sign up for 180 days or whatever. And so I appealed, and I was like, shit, so you have to use your full real name. And I didn't realize that. And so I think I must have attested to the fact that it was like by their terms and conditions. And then now they're challenging it. And with no really course for rebuttal, I'm going to be stuck sitting outside looking through the window for 180 days at your accounts. So you got 180 days to both get famous. Okay. I want nothing less than this. And by that point, then I'll be friends with both of you. If you don't accept, you're off the podcast. Right. That's it.
Yeah, it's kind of scary, the approach of using the password, because I had to do the meta verification thing, and I had to give them a picture.
What's the password thing about, Jose?
I didn't meta verification. It is kind of their Instagram blue check mark. They introduced that also, and where Twitter just charges you money to give you the verification, Meta wants your passport. They want your ID. They want
that's right.
Passport. Yeah. Okay, I thought you said password.
No,
okay,
passport. Yeah. They want your government. They want to get your actual ID and your name, and it's very interesting because it's really weird because I see people on both sides talking about this, and if you would have asked me maybe 10 years ago about my opinion, I would have been like, yeah, Twitter, screw anonymous accounts. But also now that I run a business and you start seeing things from a different perspective, and you start realizing, man, I wish that whoever is posting this or saying this, can back it up with their credibility and their name. It really, it's a really weird reality that one has to kind of accept.
Well, that's what I liked about Horizon. I liked about Horizon versus Rec Room and VR Chat was that it honestly felt like a curated or policed environment. And it was, right? They're listening in, and there was an age bar and a few different things, but it felt more like an adult place to go and hang out. I didn't like Horizon, the platform for the platform, but the way it was run and how it felt, it didn't feel so chaotic. And that's where social media sometimes goes. It goes to I can say whatever the feck I want. I'm behind here, and it doesn't matter if I jump on Adam's account and say a bunch of shit and makes her feel terrible that day, and I'm not accountable for any of it. I do feel like accountability in the age of the internet
Must
has some
exist.
level of importance, right? And now that we're moving into a space where, take VR, right? You can get groped in VR, virtually at least, right? We're thankfully not to the point where haptic feedback comes right through and, hey, Jose, stop grabbing my ass. You know,
Yeah.
like that. We're not there yet, but it's like, what world do we want to live in? I feel like a world where accountability is a part of our day to day as the default makes sense, provided there's still some avenue for, I'd like to post something anonymously,
Yeah.
right? Like, I think it needs kind of both, but I would think that the default for accountability is important, like it is in person.
Yeah.
Like, if I walk up to you, you're going to see my face. You're going to recognize who I am. It's probably difficult for me to run away really fast, right? And you might punch me in the face. So there's some accountability in that conversation, no matter what happens now. So there you
it's
go.
so hard though, because I think about, not most people are not creators, but when I think of the people that get swatted or they get some kind of weird stalker, like you can literally find anyone where they live on Google so easily. So I think that's the part that scares me. Is there are so many times where I'm like, give me your name, you stupid commenter, like, I have accountability. But on the flip side, I'm like, oh God, like there are creepy, well-intent people out there that once they have, just a little bit of information about you, they're going to use that to do terrible, terrible things. So it's like, I don't know. It's hard. I don't really know what side I'm on. They both kind of suck, or I don't know.
It's an evolution of reality. I speak to this a lot with a lot of people. It's that I think we got so used to the old definition of words like privacy and security, and the truth of the matter is that those words meant something on the context of time, and now things are changing. I think that the word privacy doesn't mean what it meant back in the day. I think privacy now means doing the best that you can with the little things you can control. And that's really, unfortunately, and it sucks because it's kind of being told like, hey, do the best you can with the limited things that you have in your disposal. But that's the truth, is that we're in the era of being able to see through walls with wireless with wireless signals. So what does privacy even mean now that somebody with a van with a forensics wireless kit can just park outside your house and see through your house, right? So
And that's why I live in the basement.
there you
go. Goals.
Yes, we should definitely bring lead back. Let's bring lead back, asbestos, all of those weird things that are toxins, shielding, but you can't see through the walls. Let's bring them back.
Just don't lick anything.
Just don't lick it. Yeah, there we go. You want privacy? You don't want to be seen through walls?
The amount of quotes off this podcast today. Oh my God. You two are gold. All right. Well, I'll be honest, right? I did want to call this podcast when I was thinking about names, right? I was like, can we just call this can we please do anything but talk about Roblox VR? So let's keep this bloody short. Okay, this part. Roblox is coming to App Lab and beta. Now, Roblox has been around, and my daughters played something called Baby Hands, where the VR player holds out their hands, and there's PC players, and they hold them up, and if you like, you can just drop them into the abyss. That's super fun. So it works. It will work. I think it'll be quite popular. And that's literally everything I had to say about Roblox.
I wish I had like a big red button that has like a 10-year-old screeching sound of joy, just pressing it. Every time I hear the word Roblox, I just press it.
Okay,
they're gonna love it.
Oh, that game is going to blow up the holiday season.
I don't know enough about Roblox, though. I wish that I had more of an opinion, but I haven't really dived into it. I don't know what's possible, like the social features versus development features, monetization. Like, I don't really know much about it.
It has all that.
It's a game maker. It's a game maker, in short, right? It's an engine/game maker. So people come up with, and it's a great place for budding developers. It is an absolutely great place if you have a game idea, in the same way that creators in Rec Room will go in with the maker pen and they'll be like, ooh, I can make a haunted house, or I can make a car that I can sell. Like, Roblox is like that. Blockier, chunkier, looks terrible. Like the trashiest looking interface that you've ever imagined. UI overlapping on UI, like it's mental. But in terms of sheer gameplay design and fun, you can find some great stuff in there.
They built a community around the Minecraft engine. Essentially, it's an engine with a community, and the kids love it. Like the communities, my nephews, my nieces. I'm in the arcade and the LBE space, so I talk to a lot of younger audiences, and the weirdness of it all is it's the first thing they mention is Roblox. Like you mentioned VR and it's Roblox, and the weird thing is that Roblox and VR has existed for a while, and only the hardcore of enthusiasts in Roblox are already using it. And the weirdest thing is that I have never met somebody who mentions Roblox that isn't a hardcore enthusiast. So I don't know what those numbers look like for them, but I think that this is just them being like, okay, well, it's going to spill over to the public anyway, so let's do it this holiday season. They lowered the age bracket down to 10 with Meta. That it's all connected.
But the overlap, like what you're saying there, Jose, like the overlap of someone who owns a VR headset or has access to a VR headset, PC VR, and Roblox and its VR compatibility is like a very small, like Venn diagram overlap, like very small. Standalone, like on my Quest, Roblox is, man. Like it's going to be. I wouldn't be surprised if they got 6-digit figures of users.
I am 100. I'm willing to. That's a bet. I am making that bet. The Roblox train is going to change things. That's. I see the energy. Like these kids. That's their new Minecraft.
It's good for Meta. It's very good for Meta because if they're taking change off the store, off the in-game transactions and things, they'll do very well. But Roblox and Minecraft are interchangeable with my kids, so I'm sure there is more. And I told my daughter, I walked down the hallway, and I was like, honey, guess what? Roblox is coming to VR. And she just slacked jaw. Like,
insert the scream button here. Child's
we need the scream button.
We need to get that. That sounds like fun.
Oh, God, my ears.
All right, let's move on. Next up, unless, Adam, you had anything more to say on Roblox, but it sounds like you're kind of new to the scene, Okay, next topic, which I think is fitting segue from a game that appeals to adolescents. Here are two other hot topics that appear to adolescents. Cheating on tests and having pornographic encounters with famous actors. All right? So... F.Reality crew is coming to a Skyrim sex dungeon at your place soon. Wink, wink, or something like that. But anyway, so two things. First off, did you know that ChatGPT can do handwritten notes using a 3D plotter and even flip the pages as it's drawing?
Whoa.
That's automated, handwritten homework cheat right there. I'm going to write your history essay for you, and it'll be in your handwriting. How crazy is this?
It's like a 3D printer for cheating notes or an AI. I don't know. It's so weird.
Just pay your best friend $10 for homework and you call it a day.
But I feel like it's kind of, if you make this as a college student, that's kind of impressive on its own. Like you're smart enough to make this kind of a thing.
Yeah, just drop out. Go start your AI handwriting company. What are you doing?
Yeah, I know. It's like, have you ever done that? And I guarantee you Jose has. I don't know, Adam, if you will have. But I've done this because I'm of that engineering brain where, have you ever engineered something to solve a problem where, let's say it's a 10-second gap and you spend 5 hours on creating the thing that does it really smartly, but it cost you way too much in time? That's what this is. This is like... I wish I could show. I like how you were saying that, and I wanted to just go like this, but the audiences will understand what's happening. But I literally my Rode microphone like snapped, so I literally I could have just ordered on Amazon last week a little mount, but I'll take a picture of it. But I literally cut out a box hole on top of it, so I have a printer box with a hole with a microphone standing on top of it like a little pedestal, and hey, it works. So
gotta do what you gotta do sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
I should show it. I'm gonna fetch it. 1 second.
I love it.
Cover me there.
Yeah, I know, at least for me, especially when it comes to audio stuff. Like I mess around with Voice Meter Banana a lot and over-engineer things. I'm like, maybe if I can route the sound through my microphone, then I can use it like a Stream Deck sound box. But then it's so damn complicated, and I'm like, why am I doing this to myself?
Volunteer really does make you want to do all that because it has all the connections with the audio sources. Oh, it Zim's back. Uh-oh.
I'm back. So I have it's like an ASMR microphone. It's the H3 VR. It's a Zoom mic, right? But I needed a stand for it. So this is that Rode mic stand, right?
I love this.
That doesn't look right.
There's like a 3/4 inch connector that can sits perfectly with no wiggle.
I don't know if I want to
And
This is
describe
such a great out of
for,
context video
for
clip.
audio
You want to
listeners.
describe this for audio listeners?
It,
Well, there's a mommy and a daddy part of the two slide very nicely together with almost no play. So I was very happy with that. I used that for my sim racing to get my audio on
is there
the
a
rig
piston in it?
and stuff
Does
like
it
that.
move up and down?
There's no piston. There's no
like
vertical motion.
It looks like a physical replica of like the bacteria, like the virus genome, whatever it's called. Like when you look at it under a microscope.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, the same look of. God, I haven't thought of that since I was like 12, man. Jeez.
You made me think of it with that. What did you call your ASMR special stream microphone?
It's a
I did some ASMR stuff for a while.
interesting
but,
shape for a microphone. It's like a
It's
cone
not that
shaped on
phallic,
the.
is it?
It's very. Let's say okay. I mean, it's. Why does the bottom look like that? It sort of looks like the space shuttle triangle with the microphone, material on top. It looks.
You should actually start using that microphone for your streams and just hold it, just hold it by the little stick.
Done it.
bow
Been
tie.
there. Done that. Done that. Yeah, we've done that. But and this build of this automatic page flipping handwriting ChatGPT engine, to me, just blows my mind. I love the engineering here. Personally, the crown on this cupcake is the fan, this little system fan. It's probably, I don't know, a few millimeters, to suck the page up so the flipper can slide in and flip the paper. So I don't know if you caught that. Adam, run it again if you get the chance, if you haven't already killed the
I was like,
tab.
that looks like a fan, but I didn't think it was actually a fan.
It's basically drawing air up over the page enough that the page lifts up, and a little flipper slides in under the page and then flips it over like an omelet.
That's awesome.
And it's just incredible.
Just think about how many hours of testing they had to figure out what was the right amount of air to just lift up the paper without lifting the rest of papers.
How many papers got ruined and just crumpled and mangled?
You were at CES this year, right, Adam?
Yeah.
Do you remember? I don't remember the company that had it, but they had like a iRobot that was drawing people. Did you get to see that?
Oh, I don't know if it was drawing people. Is that the Amica one? Is that the one that had the facial expressions and stuff?
Yeah, there was a robot AI that was sketching people that it was looking. It was using machine cameras. It's something similar, but it was not writing. It was sketching with a pencil. So it was actually doing. It was the theme fair stuff where they draw you. It was looking at you, augmenting you, and drawing the augmentation on a pencil.
So crazy.
Were there any cops around that booth?
Funny enough, I'm pretty sure I have video of this from CES. I have to find it. But
Adam's laughing at one side, and that wasn't the joke I was going to make, but that's a good joke. I was going to say, because it must be a little sketchy, but that was my stupid joke that was coming.
I thought we were going to get sketch artists out of business with AI or something.
The mug shots, right? Mug shots and all that. And also, along this dad joke side, D360 says, I'm also a fan of the fan. Well, I'll tip my hat to you there, sir.
Fans.
Very good. Do you tip the AI? I don't know. Yeah, do you pay for it? I remember I saw in San Francisco, they had like, what was it, coffee machines or something? They're just a box with a robot. And it just serves you
Please play me in crypto.
Tap the crypto wallet.
I have 3 little bots at home that need to get fed. Please take my sketch.
3 little AIs.
Oh my God. Well, very good. Well, seeing as we're talking about cheating or perhaps just automating the love letter writing process, if your hands getting cramped or whatever, AI deepfake pornographic voice artists are disputing the lack of consent for use of their voice in gaming mods. As reported by PC Gamer, there's an uproar due to several mods, some of which might be found in my favorite Skyrim game, with people like Jennifer Hale, who was the voice of Commander Shepard in Mass Effect, or Lindsay Rosso of Transformers, Deathloop, and Fallout 76. In short, as we predicted, voice actors are having their work stolen and abused in things they did not consent. So this feels very topical amidst the Actors Guild strikes relating to residuals, in other words, how much actors make when their shows are rewatched, and the actor's likeness and who owns it. If you hear SAG-AFTRA, no, that's not what happens to women after rearing children. SAG-AFTRA was the merger of Screen Actors Guild and the American Federation of Television and Radio Artists, basically a union that pulls actors from their jobs when something threatens the landscape, which is happening at the moment, affecting several productions out there. So anyway, that's what's going on at the minute. It's, again, the funny future that we're heading towards, the dystopian elements of what automation and AI and deepfakes allow. I mean, won't be long before someone puts out a podcast that's got our four faces on it, and we're saying naughty things to each other or something. I don't know. I mean, someone's going to come up with something.
Not to be weird, but how much, I guess this is in a Skyrim, so maybe it's implied there's a storyline, but how much dialogue do you actually need other than like grunting and noises? I'm not a connoisseur, so I don't know, but like, how much dialogue do you add into
it, baby? We don't kink shame F.Reality.
That's a good point, though. Like, yeah, I mean, it's like, you're like, Adam, I hope this isn't your defense, but this is what I heard in my head, was you're standing on the corner going, like, to the voice artist, you're like, come on, it's just like 15 seconds of audio. It's no biggie.
No, it's bad, but I mean, what, do you need dialogue to make these? What, isn't it, my assumption is just get to immersion. The point of the good stuff where it's probably not like pizza guy walks in and then you've got,
immersion. People
it's
want
not, that. So knowing the Skyrim
they want their
underbelly.
Skyrim equivalent of the pizza guy.
Yeah, knowing the Skyrim underbelly, it's not about having a quickie, right? It's like, it's about living in a world where everybody's topless and like,
the lore.
Like they can interact with everybody. Now some people do go to the sex dungeon thing, okay. But like it's more, they want the world, right? And they want their favorite characters, obviously, to come in and be a part of that world. They want to live in it. They want to live there.
The more interaction part versus the watching part. Okay, I got it.
Yeah. So, I mean, if they want to marry a wife, for example, or a husband and have it be that person, then, why can't it be the person I saw?
At first, I was kind of mocking it as you were talking about it in my head, but now I'm like, you know what? I like the idea of somebody who just found love with an NPC in a Skyrim game, and he retires, goes to work, gets home from work and sits down, has dinner, and just goes to see the wife and kids. That's
there will be a
that's
documentary.
Beautiful. You know what? Yeah. I want to see a documentary like that, like a really nice one. It's like, and they show you like 10 years later, he's still happy and with his digital wife and kids.
Look, if it makes you happy, I'm all for it. It's like anything like that way, Like, I mean, if you can't get it in real life and it helps for you to have it virtually, then do that. I mean, I don't know where this road takes us. I feel like we're in the Napster era with music, where it's like, because over the last few years our data has been spilling out in waves. As that now catches up with automation and AI, more and more. I mean, someone at some point is going to put my voice into a game and go and fornicate with my body, and I'm going to be like, well, how did I feel about that? I don't know, but send me the video. So anyway, other than that, let's move on. So that was basically Playboy. Let's talk some PlayStation news. We previously heard of an accessibility controller coming to PS5, and I just wanted to share a bit of their latest updates for that. For our listeners, it was really quite exciting news. First off, its name is the Access Controller. I like it. Simple, straightforward, good name. Releasing December 6th, right in time for Christmas. Man, you're going to make someone's 2024 with this gift. And the price, that's my favorite part about this, is it's $90. $90, which is very comparable to, I think, the $70 PS5 controller at the moment. In Europe, that's €90. It's £80, and it's 120 Canadian dollars. So kill me now, because we have to pay more up here. Like a controller here is $90 Canadian and pushes you over the 100 for one game controller. It's more than 100 Canadian bucks.
God.
But it's such a fair price point, I feel, for something that's very niche and normally would be difficult to get your hands on. I was expecting this thing was going to cost $250 or something ridiculous, I love that it's so accessible at a price level. And I'm a true believer that this means our less abled listeners can now play Gran Turismo 7 with an Access controller and a PSVR 2 headset. I don't know. I know the controllers for PSVR 2, because of how they're fabricated, aren't going to work for everybody. Who don't have full motor function in both hands, for example. It's already true that people who, for example, don't have leg motion won't be able to play half the VR games because they require you to stand up or move around or whatever. So VR, unfortunately, by its very nature, like we were talking a bit earlier, it's a bit closer to real life. It's a bit less virtualized. And so it puts it layers of separation away from being accessible. But I very much like the fact that my personal favorite, and a lot of people's personal favorite PSVR 2 title, Gran Turismo 7, which can be fully played without the Sense controllers, just the PS5 controller. In this case, the Access controller, they're going to be able to get their hands and head into an experience, which, if you're not well abled in that way, if you have something holding you back from real life driving, you can jump in a Porsche and zip around Nordschleife now. In fact, that makes me so happy.
Yeah.
Really makes me happy.
So cool.
It's a side of VR that not a lot of people think about. Like, a lot of people don't think about accessibility at all.
Don't.
You know, I funny enough, I just had a conversation with some VR consultants, whatever that means, in the space a few weeks ago, about them saying that room scale VR was not the future. And the reason they were thinking about that is because they're not thinking about accessibility. They're not thinking about wheelchair people. They're not thinking about, the reality is that these are technology systems, so there is really no excuse to not build APIs where somebody can play a room scale free roam experience.
Right.
There's a lot of cool tools, like Walk-in VR has a lot of APIs and a lot of ways that you can map out motions and specific physical gestures into an accessibility controller of sorts. I think it's, quite frankly, the reality of the industry, because it's still brand new, but
Yeah.
What Sony's doing with this and making sure that, like you mentioned, Gran Turismo being playable, the fact that you can actually use a normal Sense controller to initiate the X controller on the actual DualShock works. That is the accessibility that VR currently doesn't, that accessibility doesn't exist anywhere else except on the PlayStation platform.
And to have it on such
from
a big name with massive AAA titles, with something that's not just some indie game or a single indie developer who happens to think about this and support it, man, it's a powerful move and statement by Sony. And I can only thank them for doing that, because I can't imagine this makes them money. But I'll tell you what it does do is 10 years from now, I'll still be thinking well of Sony because of moves like this.
Exactly.
So good on you guys. After that as well, in the PlayStation space, we got the Perp Games Showcase, which, thank the Lord on high, was short and sweet and easy to watch, because I told you last month I got burnt out. I'm like, done with showcases for maybe 6 months now. I'm like, except for maybe what Meta's got cooking. So we got a release of a few titles, including some horror ones like Happy Funland. But the real news for me was that Vertigo 2 is coming to PSVR 2, which is awesome news, because the contrary of you two fine people, I haven't played Vertigo 2 yet. That's my guilty admission, and I will fully plan now to play that in headset when it lands on the platform. It's also got some free DLC coming. So if you didn't catch the showcase, there's some new characters coming that make you allow to play the single player game over again in a totally different way. I think kind of a la Bone Lab. You know how Bone Lab had those characters that made your interaction with the world very different. And also some in-game level designer as well. So you can kind of create an in VR level editor with that. So I like what they're doing with Vertigo 2. That's Zulabo. And yeah, look forward to that in Zim's near future from Perp Games. Well, unless there was anything else that you guys caught in Perp Games you that excited about. Again, that only just showed up a day ago, so hasn't really percolated very much.
Didn't we have? I feel like time flies so fast. Didn't we just have a Perp Games like showcase in the beginning of the year, or maybe I don't know. Again, my sense of time has been terrible.
They do them pretty frequently. I don't know if they do them quarterly or semi-annually, but yeah, maybe it was. I'm trying to think back. I think you're right. Earlier this year, yeah. I think.
But yeah, could be me. I lose track of time.
And maybe even like November last year or something. But yeah, but it was short and sweet. It was like 15 minutes, bing bang boom, done, which was lovely to see. Now, the other part of that, in case you missed the first half of the podcast, was Wanderer, coming across to a bunch of different platforms, metahuman avatars, eye tracking with your characters for extra immersion. So press rewind on that if you're skipping through the podcast. With that, on to the meaty main topic. Ever since I saw John Carmack showcasing the Oculus DK1 at QuakeCon, half of the VR fun for me has been following early prototypes, test builds, mods, and just keeping an eye on tinkerers building custom headsets. Before we go into that, for those of you who might be newer to VR, let's take a brief trip down headset memory lane at these from the past. So, Adam, would you please show our VR headsets through history images? And we can slowly scroll through that. That would be great. I found this on Reddit from a little while ago, and it's really neat. Starts off. Now, it doesn't have everything. A caveat before the real people who know this. This is for the newbies. There's a bunch of things in there. So the outline covers the classics, including some grandfathers of VR tech, with some exceptions, like I was saying. So it's got Nintendo's Virtual Boy, the VXF 3D, the N-Visor SX60, headsets that I got the feeling Jose had on his head most of these. But anything you want to call out here? Go ahead and scroll down the list for us there, Jose. Anything you spot, just...
give me 1 second. I'm looking at the stream live.
You too, also. Adam. If there's anything that you see on there that reminds you of something, or you don't know, you've never seen
I got in a little... by later... It was, I guess, kind of late ago, but the OG Vive, that was my first one. Like, I never had a DK1 or anything. So just seeing that, like, the Vive headset with all the craters in it just is like, aw.
Love the craters.
Now it's like retro, kind of, right? I guess.
It's totally retro now.
Oh, man.
I mean, that's what, 7 years ago now?
Oh, God.
So.
Again, my
the Acer, the AH series Acer headsets. It's a headset that the AH11 that you actually scroll a little bit up. The body size of Acer's headsets. I don't know if you guys ever saw their attempts at VR, the AH101. It is one of those
mixed reality headset, the one that was on the Microsoft bit. Yeah, it's tiny actually. Quite small.
One of those. It's just a design factor. Every time I look at it, it reminds me of like a early '90s Doom buggy, like jet ski. Like design style, like the colors, like the blue. I don't know why. It just looks cool. Like it was ripped out of the 90s. Yes.
I like a 90s ad, but the fun little F.Reality fact. Moments, literally. I was Oculus Connect 4, where I got to meet Mike for the first time, and I remember I just got a demo of that headset, and I hadn't played with it, but I played with the physical form of it, and I was there in an Airbnb with the Windlands team, and they were showing me this thing. Moments later, I had a phone call with Nathy and Mike, and that was where they interviewed for the podcast. And I was like, and I set some demands, including changing the name from VR Inside, which we then spent 5 months retooling and went to F.Reality. But that headset is oddly brought me back to that moment in time, which was a good moment. I was sitting on a stool in this Airbnb kitchen and had just seen that headset and had a good chat with these two lads. I just met Mike a couple of days earlier, and we both thought we were each cool cats and decided to get together and form a band. So yeah, brought me back there, Jose. Thanks for that. Appreciate that. That's a cool headset. The orange headsets in this list, by the way, I don't think I've ever seen them. You know, there's some bright orange ones that look like safety equipment.
They look like Xiaomi. They look like Xiaomi-based headsets.
I see Deca Gears.
Yeah, that orange aesthetic.
Poor Deca Gear.
But it's good. And this information actually comes from an interesting website, right? This is the source for this data was vr-compare.com. Looks a little different. I had never seen that actually, and it's a cool tool.
So
it's
cool.
really neat.
Oh, man.
It's kind of like a celebrity deathmatch, or it's like a battles of history. Like you can take two headsets. The specs in the database are really sleek, and they show you basically like who wins out on what specs, indicating which headset is kind of better on paper. So go have a browse. That's vr-compare.com. So vr-compare.com.
Super cool people.
It's really neat. Do you know the people behind this then?
The developer, a little inside story in the Reboot Imagines Inception story. He was one of the first people I spoke to about, like, we're talking about like 4 years ago. He's been working on this stuff for a while, and I remember reaching out to him and be like, hey, I'm thinking about building a VR company, and we're going to be specializing in support. You want to collaborate? And that trail went cold. But the data that he puts into the attention, I think it's one person, to be honest. I think it's a one-man show, and honestly, the dedication, I feel so bad not remembering his name. I have it on Twitter, on LinkedIn, but the amount of dedication and love and comparison, it's not easy to do all this. And for what it looks like, the earnings is really affiliation linking. So
Yeah,
this is
affiliation
really
linking.
so it's really a passion driven project, right? The data is valuable on itself. So shout out to him.
Yeah, so to support, in that case, for people who
Hmm.
aren't familiar with like content creators who use affiliate links, if you want to support somebody, typically within 30 days of you browsing to the site, clicking a link that say takes you to like an Amazon front
Yeah.
page, one of these platforms that give the person who's using these affiliate links a cut, it'll allow them to make some money. So if you want to support them, really simple, before you make a purchase, and it can be a week before it or whatever, go browse through the website, use the link, click through, right? And then that will attribute your IP address with the purchase, and the creator will get some money. But a lot of those websites, we were using a news website for releases back in my day, Jose, and it's like they're one-person shops,
Yep.
and they just keep going, and they go for years, and when they stop, it's like a piece of the heart of the industry gets like cut out. This is what it feels like. just stop. So
Yeah.
keep doing it as long as you can, guys who are out there, guys and gals who are supporting these sites, because they're really cool. I really appreciate it that
Rory
people are out there
Brown,
making
that's
that.
his name. Shout out to Rory Brown. That's his
Rory
name.
Brown.
Yes,
Hey.
I was like looking through my DMs and like going to like the early days. But yeah, shout out to Rory, and that dedication is quite a bit.
Second to none. Oh, the site
Mhm.
looks amazing. It looks great. Sometimes having started with like web dev way back, you look at certain things, you go, how did they make that look so sleek? You just think through the tech stack. But also I was going to say, chat, when we were talking about VR headsets, I know several VR collectors, right, of rare hardware, prototypes, things like the Santa Cruz, the original Vive Pre, something like the original prototype touchpad controllers from Oculus. Like there's hardware to be had out there if you're into it. I personally try to get rid of as much as I can so that it's not just sitting on a shelf, because I feel like hardware was meant to be used, which is why I hope it ends up in a usable museum someday, or someone's special collection that they have a showroom for, or something like that. But let's move on to two special cases that I spotted recently. These are modern headsets, not from history. And first up, I just wanted to share these. First up, the Dream State translucent VR headset. And to my surprise, it's from Meta, the Meta Quest Pro Clear, which looks like an early iMac or something like that, with a translucent kind of interface, clear plastic. Probably didn't go for it because of the strength of the plastic, I'm guessing. Impact of translucent plastic usually ends in cracks and broken dreams and all that kind of stuff. But my reaction to this was, holy shit, it looks fucking sick, man. I want this headset so badly. I want all my VR stuff to have this cool like 90s look, right? We don't get that anymore. Where is that stuff?
I know it wouldn't work with the the kind of hardware that's in there, but man, if they could make some kind of like one of the like those steampunk watches where you can see all the cogs and gears moving underneath, like it wouldn't function. I know, but that would be cool if you could see stuff, even if it was like fake animation. Like just put a layer of just random cogs moving for no reason that you could turn off and on or whatever. Like that'd be neat, because like I had like the Game Boy Color, the purple translucent case back in the day, and I really loved that thing. It was a bragging piece to friends, like ew.
Absolutely, it's something to be said. And also like we're gonna get to the point where like the water cooling you see in PC chassis today, maybe you could have like cool like fluorescent lit liquid that's like piping down along the side of your headset, or
you're making
I don't know, you could have
right
some
now.
really badass stuff, right?
Yes.
I don't know. Like we've had a few like LED displays and stuff like that. That's pretty cool. But man, I do want, as we just scrolled through history and we saw lots of black headsets, like one blue one, a smattering of orange heads, like more colors, please. Yeah. We need a rainbow.
Yes.
Rainbow.
I want old school. I really don't like translucent. Like for VR, I love translucent technology, but for VR, I don't know. I don't know. Somebody posted, it went viral on Twitter a few days ago, but I don't know if you guys remember the Burger King Kids Club from the 90s.
Oh my God, yes.
There was a character that had a VR headset. And I think it was the one. Yeah, he had like if you look up the Burger King Kids Club, there was one. It was the blonde one. He has a VR headset, and it's really cool because you have like they look like really blocky glasses, but it also has like a radio antenna at the back of it, like to symbolize that it's wireless. Like, I would like to see somebody make a VR
I've
headset that
I've
looks.
I've definitely never seen this Burger King Club. I know you two always have
I'm a
something to teach me
90s.
on the
Yes.
podcast, but Burger so I wasn't a Burger King kid. I think we always went to McDonald's. So what was the
Yeah.
Burger King Kids Club? What was
It
that? Is
was
it like get
their
a Happy
approach.
Meal or
Yeah, it was the
a
Happy
TV show or
Meal
what was it?
variant.
It's like their Ronald
And one
McDonald
of
and
the
Grimace and Friends equivalent,
yeah,
essentially. I think they had
Okay.
toys too at one
yeah.
point. Maybe they had little like small features, but yeah, I don't think it was ever a full-on like TV show, or at least I don't remember.
No, I think it was like their Happy Meal crew competing with McDonald's. Ronald McDonald and all that.
That's a
Oh,
blast
But
from
I've
the
never
past.
seen them. But like the
yeah.
visor and stuff. Now that I've seen it, Jose, what
Mhm.
was it you wanted from a
Oh,
headset?
I
You
want
wanted to look a
somebody.
bit like that?
I want a modern VR headset in that style. I want
Mm.
the gimmicky radio antenna. Like, I want that. I want the '90s aesthetic to come back. The very bright yellows, the
Mm.
bright blues. That like Yamaha jet ski,
Oh,
Kawasaki
the
colors. I
Kawasaki
want that.
green, that ninja
Yes, I
green. Yeah,
want
that's lovely
that to
stuff.
come back to VR. It's something I
Oh
think a
man.
lot about. It's like, man, yes, please. Give me that VR headset. That's what I want.
Damn, that looks good. Well, with that, I mean, and some people in chat are saying, we won't have it. Wolf Raza was saying that kind of stuff after mass adoption. And yeah, I agree that mostly. I also think that once you get to a certain stage of stagnation and everything kind of looks the same, it's time to shake things up design wise. Like we've seen, and I've only learned about this company recently from Nothing. You guys know Nothing, the phone manufacturer who also make earbuds? Because they have they've got this kind of design aesthetic, which is really interesting. They're kind of trying to take on the generic iPhone looking industry at the moment with some specialty designs. It's a UK company.
Yes.
The one of the CEOs and original founders of OnePlus, company who I've got phone from, who came in and challenged, what you could get into a phone and for a low price, has now gone the kind of design route. And they've got this interesting thing on the back of their new phone just announced, the Nothing Phone 2, which has this glyph, this kind of symbol at the back, and it can do various things. But
LEDs.
again, this makes me think about the headsets we might have one day soon. And
Yes.
design for me, like the look and feel of something, I honestly would take a slightly less, feature rich headset if it's something that I felt like looked totally badass. I could really like feel my spirit involved with it, and it's the same thing for a phone. I've definitely been like on the side of like, this thing's almost getting good enough now. I might have to go for that because just having a specialty showpiece, there's something nice about that.
And the functionality, I'm glad you mentioned the Nothing Phone. The LED strips, they have an API. They're reprogrammable, so you
Yep.
can
Ooh.
create. And it leads up to something I mentioned in the podcast a while back. Is that LCD screens like the Apple Vision, the
Right.
Vision Pro's front panel screen. You're going to be able to rewrite codes onto the front of that panel, maybe making QR codes and maybe having specialty cameras that can track it. And we're going to probably have LED light strips. That's similar how the Quest 2 works.
Yep.
It's looking at LED rings. We're going to probably get a company that's going to make reprogrammable LED rings for mapping them into your bed, into your wall, into a portrait, and you don't have to, synchronize anything. You just put on the headset and it immediately knows what it is.
It knows the tag.
Those
Yeah.
specialty tags will be coming, and I wonder who's going to do it first. But yeah.
I think the features of that glyph are something maybe now that you said it earlier about the cinematic mode and kind of limiting where your attention goes. One of the cool things about it is when you flip the phone over, for example, if you're waiting for an Uber, it can show you, the time to arrival in just a reducing bar, a reducing glyph. Or, for example, you can program one of the glyph elements to just light up just for the app that you care about. Like I'm waiting for a phone call or waiting for a message on this specific platform from this specific person. So that kind of stuff is it's really interesting, especially in a modern era where I feel like we need to have our hands on that control, that tap. You were kind of talking about it earlier, Jose, where you've got a waterfall of stuff coming at you, but how do I control that? How
What
do I
is the
control
little
the kind
mania
of
rules?
the flow.
It's so cool because I bet there's people listening to the podcast right now and screaming on top of their lungs like, I've been talking about this for 10 years. This is Internet of Things. You know what I mean? Like, that's really what's happening, is that we're now at a place where all of the cool stuff that people have been talking about, like, you know, the spatial technologies all talking to each other, devices having abilities outside of their software, that it's now on their hardware outside of the operating system, like the device is talking to you even if you're not looking at the screen. I love that stuff, and we're going to start seeing inklings of that already with our VR headsets. Like, if your headset has an update, the light goes red on the Focus 3, starts blinking green. I think the Quest Pro starts blinking the light if there's like a software update or it's ready to restart after update finishes. All of those little features that we normally that we take for granted are going to evolve to that little, you know, standby light is talking to, you know, your
I know what you mean. Like, there's signaling there that hasn't been tapped into yet. It's kind of like what we had with AM and FM with modulation of a signal, and you're able to grip onto that in the same way that you can get a network signal across your power line, you know, now, and pop out to Ethernet. But you're doing that just with lighting, just with visuals. Yes. And the more smart devices you have in your environment, the more communication and the more chances for combinations and permutations you have there. So that's pretty cool.
Spatial computing, let's go. That's literally, when people hear spatial computing, they think of VR. This is spatial computing. All of your stuff, your headsets, your TVs, your microphones, your everything that has
activity.
Yes, they're all talking to each other.
And I think about a mode where, like, maybe I have a companion who's my digital, you know, like a little pet dragon who rests on my shoulder, but then that little dragon can interact with, you know, someone else's.
Yes.
You know, like my AI can interface with their AI and have a conversation or interact, and they'll be like, "Oh, nice to meet you," or whatever.
Smart Tamagotchis.
Like, not even.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, smart Tamagotchis.
It's gonna go from your phone, and then when you're looking at your screen, it's gonna show up as an AR overlay. And when you're on your mobile device, it's gonna show up on the corner. It's Digimon. I don't know if you guys ever heard.
Clippy evolved. Clippy evolved.
Yeah, Clip. I keep worrying about Clippy. That Clippy universe thing is still the worst horror in my mind that Rowdy talked about before. So let's go move on to the Holy Grail. For those who've waited 2 hours through the first part of the show, we're coming up to the peak of the mountain here. Discovery so special. I wanted to dedicate this show to this project. Okay. After so many GT7 car mods, this one, including its name, touched me in a right spot. Introducing the Hades Widebody. In short, it's known as the HWBVR. It is it's got like how it looks is it's like a pockmarked Vive front end, 3D printed headset with a Vive audio strap at the rear and what looks like a giant heatsink up top. Donned in jet black with red tape and white lettered branding on the headset, this is Hades Widebody. Jose is reacting to this. Have you seen this before, Hades, or am I?
I have not, and this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. This is so.
Doesn't it kind of look like you know the xenomorph alien when its mouth comes out?
Yes,
it looks a little bit like that. But what do we see? So this is a bizarre cross section between a Vive Pro Eye and a Pimax Artisan that's got a dual lens, biconvex and Fresnel element to the display. So we're going to walk through this. There's really interesting pieces to it. And this is all broken out in like a saga of a journal for the guy who created it. It's amazing. So the most impressive feature for me personally is the periphery lenses, which have a blown up version of what you're seeing through the primary lenses kind of expanded out. We've talked about this before. So to clarify, this is not an Ambilight solution. It's not just LEDs going, oh, it looks like an amalgamous green blob on screen, so I'll show green in the periphery. It's also not a unified display, so like a Pimax headset where you've got a big wide stretched image. It is the VR scene essentially kind of blown up, but presented over peripheral displays that are separate from the main lenses. So I want to talk you through, before I tell you the specifics of the headset, let's tell you in the direction that the author had aimed to go. Okay, so this is what they set down for their project when they wanted to use this. And Adam, if you're able to, scroll down and show the lens shot where you can see kind of the inside of the headset, because it shows you how the lenses, the kind of dual lens display while I'm doing this. So yeah, a whole bunch on here. At least 144p and OLED, or something to make LCD look as good as OLED. More 90 hertz or above minimum. Wider than the standard 90 to 100 degree FOV, ideally as wide as possible. This headset actually worked out at 108, with a chance to get as close as 120. Aspheric or biconvex lenses, as in not Fresnel. Pancake in this DIY context was not feasible for a number of reasons, including FOV requirement. He wanted it to be lighthouse tracked, same system as the Valve Index, Vive, the Aero from Viro, etc., and to use standard video and data sockets, so USB, HDMI, or DisplayPort, right? On the headset itself, making getting replacement cables down the line possible. No proprietary bullshit. That was okay. Also didn't want any invasive bloatware mandate to run the headset. So in other words, let me boot up Steam VR and never have to think about another piece of software. I love that design.
This guy's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely, right?
Dude.
And face tracking built in, and not skimping out on necessities like top strap, competent microphone, actual headphones that block or muffle sound, and decent binocular overlap, which helps the view from each eye as opposed to that eye image being only in one eye. So with that, what is this thing that he's engineered comprised of? The main lenses are Gear VR lenses, because of a love for the kind of boundless sweet spot, very edge-to-edge lens sweet spot of the Gear VR. For those who've tried it, they'll understand. I like my my Oculus Go for a very similar reason. Very clear lens there for your central lens. The secondary lens surround, causing that kind of overlap that we talked about, and Adam's got flashing on screen the various shots of the headset in its final form. Regardless of the technicalities and caveats, regardless of any hard numbers, the author here said, and actually, Adam, can you give the name? I didn't jot down the name of the person.
It is Dragon Sky Runner, is at least on Reddit.
Dragon Sky Runner.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. I'm pretty happy with the resulting width the periphery lenses add, especially looking back to the OG Vive and feeling how, I love this quote, looking through loo roll tubes, that's toilet paper tubes, that is by comparison. I love that, because going back to those headsets does feel a bit that way. The top box, which I originally thought was like a heating element, when opened, is a shocking 7-port USB hub.
Oh yeah.
It's got a wind angle. You'll appreciate this, Adam, given your project that we'll talk about in a minute. But if on that same page, there's an open shot of this 7-port VR hub, and it looks crazy. All the inputs and outputs going in this connector. It's also got a wide angle lens tracking the face at a slight distance from the front, kind of like you'd see in facial animation capture in movie studios. So there's a special wide angle lens kind of sitting out front. And on top of that, there's a bit of a fuzzy fat microphone. I didn't see any details posted about what the microphone is, but looks hefty, of decent quality. Beautiful. And I believe it. It's really a wonderful composition for a single individual person's project. Now, this is the shocking part for me. Question of cost. How much do you think this kind of thing would cost? I'll let you guys muse and give an answer. What do you think? So
you said it's a Vive Pro.
Mixed with Artisan Pimax and a bunch of other stuff.
1,000 is my guess.
No, it's a little bit more for sure, because the Vive Pro is 600. Pimax is about 600. After-use market about 500. There's some gear parts there, so he probably had it. Or I'm gonna say a total of $2,600.
I feel like we're on a game show.
Yeah, this is cool.
That's honestly what I thought. I thought we would be around the 2,000 mark. So maybe he had some of these headsets already, because he was citing, he said the cost to him was about $700 US.
No way.
Lower than I guessed.
Maybe he had no way. $400 is a Vive Pro.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking as well. And so anyway, So that's what he said the cost. And we have to go into the comments of this long blog post. The weight. How much do you think this thing weighs? Because
Yeah.
it looks like a tank, right?
Hard to tell gauge on the size just based on how it looks from close-up shots, but I'm gonna say, let's see. Okay, how much for reference? How much is a Quest 2? I'm gonna go
550 for a Quest 2, I think. 550 grams.
Let's go 7. I think
7.
Yeah.
No,
Jose?
it's definitely a little bit under that. I want to
I think
say
it's hefty.
4.5 pounds. It's a lot of plastic, but most of the yeah, I think like maybe I don't think it's that heavy. It doesn't look that heavy. It just looks like a lot of convoluted plastic. But
So, without the cables, this thing weighs in at just under a kilogram.
Wow.
So it's 950 grams. So you have 2 packs of like 500 grams of meat. Stick those together, duct tape it to your head.
it's heavy.
That's what it feels like. She's a heavy mother, but relatively balanced. The cable box is on the top of your head. You've got the front, you've got the back. That Vive audio strap is very comfortable for anyone who hasn't tried the Franken mod or something. It's great. It was one of the best audio head straps that was out there. There are no IPD adjusters or sliders. There was, as you said, 0 space left in the design for further modification. And it made very clear, he's like, if you want me to build this for you, no fucking way. Not doing this again. Did this the one time. But here are my builds on Thingiverse if you want the 3D components to go and build it yourself. And he's like, caveat emptor, but fire away. So that is a beautiful piece of a headset, custom, the Hades Widebody, one in the world like it. Keep building. Keep creating. Love seeing this.
Did he mention in the story the justification of the USB hub? Did he say if it's spitting out a higher?
He went
power?
through he needed so many different connectors for the various components. It's basically a matchbox for all of that. And I think initially he wanted the design to be a little bit less in vertical height. But again, because of thermals, could only keep it like that with the fins and everything else. So
I gotta read
that was
this.
my understanding. I thought you would want to piece through this word by word because
I'm here thinking to myself. It's a lot of engineers in the VR space. Like one of the things that are kind of blowing up right now, and the USB hub kind of proves it, is there is no real good way of delivering power from a computing device to a headset that doesn't involve a wall. I think right now 30 watts is the most that you can push out from some computing components, but there's no laptop at the moment that does that. And it's really interesting, which now goes to show like what the big screen beyond's form factor is all about.
Yep.
A lot of people are talking about increasing maybe like the field of view a little bit, and you think to yourself, like, why can't they just increase it a little bit? And I really think it's because of the power delivery. If you want to have it just straight out of a USB port, it has to be powered under a certain wattage. And I've been watching some researchers, and the XR Elite's a good example of that. Is the XR2 can theoretically power up and run and turn into a modern Gear VR if it's running under a 20-watt power. You would literally get the same exact performance of an old school Gear if you power up an XR Elite with a very underpowered.
And why would you context that for me or contextualize that for me, Jose?
The
Like,
CPU.
would you use that in travel? How would you apply
that's
that?
kind of the goal. That's kind of where I'm trying to get. I'm trying to create a form factor for an all-in-one chip-based headset to be used without a computer or just being heavy with a little portable battery. And these devices can actually power up, turn on, their feature sets enable, but the CPU itself becomes the limiter because it requires that extra power. So it's really interesting just seeing the actual line of.
I'm glad you brought up big screen because I was surprised at this, but Adam, again, if you still have that tab open, in that kind of towards the bottom of the article, there's an overlay of a 3D model of the big screen beyond, kind of ghosted in 3 different images side by side, showing how large the Hades is versus the big screen beyond.
Yeah.
So take a look for that because I thought it'd be interesting. I think you'd be surprised at actually how small in comparison this Hades headset is compared to big screen. Big screen's, a tiny headset. And so when I saw these images first, I thought geez, that's actually a lot smaller than I thought. I was imagining something bulky like the Vive, the original Vive.
Oh yeah.
With that front end. But like Adam, man, I love the craters. I love the craters in the first. It just was such a cool design aesthetic, and we haven't had it again,
Yeah.
So I'd like to see that come back. But there you go. If you're into it, jump on Thingiverse, grab the builds. You can find that on Reddit. Look for Hades. What a crazy VR headset. So this has been a long one already. Jose, you're off the hook this week for releases. Next week, he's going to take on the gauntlet as show host, as I'm planning to be away next week on July 29th for my annual barbecue. Got to take some time off and chill with some friends. With that said, Adam's been tinkering a little bit herself with something new. So, Adam, fire away. Tell us about your new Frankenstein project.
I'll be really quick with it because I know we want to like eat and have a life and go. I want to say go home, but you know what I mean. But yeah, I've been playing around with the Ultra Leap's Leap Motion 2, which I got sent early. It's all available on pre-order now, but I think it should be coming out anytime now. I think Europe is starting to ship out. I don't know about the States. But anyway, for those of you who don't know what a Leap Motion controller is, it's going to be hard to explain without putting on a desk or whatever, but it basically is a hand tracking device. And traditionally not really meant for content creators, but very commonly you'll see a lot of VTubers use it, flat screen VTubers, so that you actually get, instead of having just, the stiff body PNG or avatar, you can actually show your hands on the screen as well. I tried this in a couple of different use cases, like kind of anything I could think of. First was, of course, traditional flat screen VTuber use. Works great. You can use because it's so new, most VTubers will kind of clip it on the shirt, so you don't have to worry about like your computer being in the way of the leap, or your keyboard rather being in the way of the leap motion. But I don't think they have I don't think there's any mounts for it yet, but I'm sure that'll come up for 3D prints or what have you. But I also tried this to go switching it back to VR. I did try it in VR. It will not come with a mount. The mount you'll have to buy separately, but I can kind of show you what it looks like. I stuck it on my index. Nice 3D printed thing.
Hell yeah.
There. Yeah. Sorry to stretch really awkwardly.
So that's affixed. So it's affixed to the bottom of your headset. Can you turn to the side? Just because it was black on black, it was hard to see the profile.
Yeah, where'd it go? Where is it?
Oh yeah, so it kind of facing out. So it's like a dock, a clip in. So you printed that?
No.
You 3D printed that?
They'll have it available as an accessory. So it won't come with the Leap Motion. You can purchase it separately. Yeah, it's got a nice sticky back mount. And I will say that it's a generous sticky back because I'm very stupid and I'm like, oh crap, it's crooked or whatever. Take it off, replace it. And it still seems to stick fine. So it's actually a really great mount. They'll probably have some kind of file available where you could print it yourself if you wanted to. But it's... So I got the Steam VR driver to get it to work, and man, unless you're working with something native that has hand tracking native, it is so hard because what it looks like when you're popping this up in Steam VR is you have little menus up, and your fingertips don't actually match where the Steam VR hands are, so you're just looking at a green laser pointer and praying essentially. And the drivers are okay, like. There's a lot of offsets you can mess with, but it's in notepad format. So you're a lot of like, change these things by millimeters, save it, refresh the thing, hope that the settings that I put look like they're in a general position of my hands. They do have their own built-in demo called Aurora, which has like painting and teleportation system where you grab a little diamond on your wrist and that's how and because that's built for the Leap Motion, of course, it works great. I didn't have any issues, but I tried Half-Life Alyx with the Leap Motion because
really, that seems cool.
How good was that?
Yes, but it's still very janky because you can't. I mean, you have to use pretty much teleport and pray because locomotion is just really hard with it. I will say being able to do
really hard.
Pick up stuff, like you can pick up the markers because I just went through the very beginning scene. Pick up the marker and draw on the glass and hit the button to hear Dad talk and opening doors and stuff. That's cool if you can locomote to the thing. But there's also, I guess you can use this in VR chat as well. I know there's some specific worlds that have leap motion support. I think through like OSC or something you can get it working, but I haven't had time to really experiment with the VR chat stuff. That's where I think it'll really shine, to be honest.
Curious about your Half-Life Alyx experiment. It sounds to me like the kind of thing where you have your index, you have your hands in front of you with the leap motion. What's this called?
Leap motion 2. It's the second one.
Leap motion 2, because I had the first one and I know what that was like in alt space back in the day. But you could almost have, for example, your husband to put his hands in the index controllers and locomote for you, and then you do the job of the handsy part. So you're just grabbing things in the environment or doing the marker. Do those two conflict, or like when you have two keyboards connected to a computer, can both drive at the same time?
I could use both. So that's why I actually had to turn off my index controllers for the testing purpose, just so I wouldn't see it, because otherwise it's like overlaying over the hands and it was just a bit too much to look at. But you can use both. And actually, since we're talking about being able to use both, I actually got the Vive facial tracker and the leap motion working at the same time. I don't think you were able to do that with the leap motion 1. I think it just kind of turned it off. Again, it worked like 2 out of 3 of the times that I tried it. The first time may have been a fluke, but I'm gonna have a picture. It was a mess. I would not do it the way I did it. It was like,
I'm wondering what the application is like. Is that I can now peel and eat a banana?
Well, like,
what is the
if you're like a
application
VR
for that?
VTuber and you want, if you don't have something like a Quest Pro or something that has facial tracking built in for PC VR, you could then not only have mouth tracking, lip tracking, but also now hands. But again, you'd probably have to figure out a way to streamline this thing, because I just used whatever cables and hubs that I had, which were not meant for this. So I took off like a powered hub and I unpowered it. I had these way too long of a cables. You're probably gonna need 2 like USB-C to USB 3.0 adapters to plug into your hub that plugs into the frunk. So you're gonna just, as long as you can find some really short cables, and I've seen some people like Velcro the hub to the side, because I don't know if there's one that's small enough to fit in nicely. Plus, if you have the facial tracking mount, there are nice 3D printed ones that go in, and you don't necessarily want to take up that space for the hub. So it can't, basically, TLDR can be done. Don't do it like I did. It was a mess. I just manually held the thing while I held
It's beautiful. It's halfway to Hades.
Is there a special way of mounting the leap motion too? Like, is it like you said you mentioned a flat surface? Can it only be on a flat surface? Can it, like, what I'm wondering is, can like a VTuber, for example, like you said that people can clip them on their shirt, and I was imagining like what happens if they're staring in front of a screen and their hands are in front of it. Could the LCD screen, or is there anything that could affect the tracking of the hand?
What's weird is because you can kind of, when you have the control panel up for this open, you can kind of, see your hands, and the screen actually doesn't capture on, I guess, whatever technology it just looks like the monitor's off. So it's not going to be messed up by seeing your hands on your monitor as real hands, if that makes sense. So, I mean, there's a couple ways you can mount it. You could, like I said, stick it on a VR headset, clip it to your shirt. You can put it on a monitor like a webcam, or just have it out on the desk. And yeah, I was wondering about that too. I was like, is it going to see my monitor and think those are hands, and then there's going to be weird stuff happening? But no, it doesn't even see it. I don't know how that works.
How's the Z depth, like going in and out, like because I remember for the first one, if your hands were too distant, they would ghost and it would lose tracking. And you had to be kind of within a few centimeters, but not too close and not too far. And you could dance your fingers and you could give people thumbs up and clap or whatever, and all that would show up. But yeah, if you fully extend your arms out, does it still track your hands?
There is a sweet spot too, what I was saying, because it still has like a FOV limit. Okay. It's I forget what the exact numbers are, but it is a little bit bigger than the Leap Motion 1. And I will say, like, I could pretty much extend my arms all the way up as high as I can go, and it would still be able to track them. I mean, it depends on what app you're using. So if you're using like a desktop app, the character, you just kind of lose arms or that one. But as far as closeness, like obviously if it kind of this close where it only sees one hand, it's not going to track. But if you have it, it's kind of hard to see, like probably about this high, and then of course you're gonna have two hands, so one side by side. It's able to track just fine. So I could easily, from a desktop standpoint, I could easily kind of go in the normal hand positions without it losing track. I mean, I think
They really they should market to Italians. You know, they just like
Really,
put their hands up
I was
the time.
actually my hands up. I was actually thinking of, I don't know what it's called, the instrument that's like it uses like lasers and they like touch
Oh,
like, you know what I'm
yeah, I
talking
know.
about?
The cube
Yes,
thing,
I
right? Yeah.
want.
Heck, what's that
Cube
called?
thing.
Someone in chat who knows music. It's got a really cool name as well. I forget that. But
It's like
that
you
is
move your
one of the
hands over it.
yeah, like in Electronauts and those games, the music VR games. Those are so fun. Something like a phone. What the heck is that called now? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Anyway, someone in chat will save us. I think. Adam, that's a pretty cool project. You got any other plans with it? Any other tests you want to run?
I don't know. I'm mostly excited for the VTubing implications. And like I said, I do want to deep dive into it more in VR chat worlds because there's a couple. There's one that I saw in particular that's like you can actually play the piano with the leap motion. Oh, and I want to go into that Half-Life Alyx level that has the piano just to make a cute video or something. But there's a lot of
that's
stuff.
cool.
Wait. Is the piano operable? You can play it.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'll just have to
didn't know that.
get the
don't have any
offsets
next.
right because again it's not really
Oh, dude,
aligned
that's
for
so
your
cool.
hands properly.
Yes.
But and I'm like really impatient when it comes to like tiny micro tweaks and then having to save and then reset. So I'm like, as long as it's close enough, it's fine. But there are some interesting implications, and I like, again, for those who like Frankenstein frunks and just plugging everything in, all the things. If you get short enough cables, you can do some pretty neat stuff in combination with it. So cool stuff.
Yeah.
That's so
So yeah, it's a very cool showcase. I've seen those like starting to make their way into the wild, and so it's neat to hear impression. But my first thought was when you held it up, I was like, damn, that thing's kind of sleek. It's like a little stick of gum.
It's, what is it? The official number is like, was it 30% smaller than the Leap Motion 1? Yeah, it's very
noticeably smaller.
It's a little thing, little tiny bitty thing.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Is there an MSRP price for it yet?
I think it was like I want to say 80. Don't count me on that. I can Google it real quick.
Wow.
So yeah, it's not bad. But
That's what the
That
original.
is-
I think the original was around there, if I
Was
remember
it
correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was 80. That's what I remember paying for it. That could have been pounds
no,
or
just
dollars
kidding.
or I don't remember.
It's actually 140.
theremin.
Psych.
Okay.
Jose, it's a theremin. That's the instrument you're
yes,
thinking of.
that
I think
instrument.
the theremin.
Leap Motion 2.
That would be
Awesome.
cool. Like I would
Thank
like
you,
to
Shaggy.
see somebody make theremins with these, like using like AR and
Oh,
like
you
a
know
modern
what?
one.
VR chat worlds have that. I don't know if they have Leap Motion support in those particular worlds, but I will have to find out now. Thank you.
Yes, that is cool.
It
Just
really sounds like something that Imogen Heap will have done in the past at some point. Like
Yeah.
she loved those. There were gloves that she were programmed to various instruments, including spatial gesturing and all that stuff.
oh, dude, yes. I
haven't
can't
seen
wait
her tinker
to...
recently. Is she
Yeah.
still doing stuff? Because if she is, with modern tech, it'd be really interesting to see.
But yeah, that's my
That's what
jam.
I'm very excited
Oh,
about.
$140.
haptics and all this stuff.
Yeah, I was off by like a significant amount, but you know, I
I
just
like
make
double.
up numbers
Double
sometimes.
price.
That's why I was like, I'm gonna check because it doesn't sit quite right. But yeah, like I love
so
software type stuff. Like I know Jose's super good with all the hardware, and sometimes the numbers make my eyes roll back in my head a little bit, and I space out. But when it comes to digging into like software and Steam VR kind of stuff, like I love tinkering so much.
And you'll need it too. Like a lot of people don't realize like the potentials of all this stuff. Like it's cool that you don't get intimidated by literally interfacing between facial tracking and the leap motion. Like a lot of people see this stuff and they don't really like have that logic of being like, man, how further can I take this?
What else can I plug in?
Yeah.
You're just fitting hand in a glove into my intro for you there, Adam. It works pretty well. Out of curiosity, are you designing like a VTuber avatar or something, or are you planning to do anything with that? Or I was just curious because we've had some people tinker with that in the past.
More for funsies.
Or is it more
like,
mostly for fun?
because
Yeah.
I've always liked supporting other VR creators, whether they're camera, mixed reality, avatar, VTuber, whatever. And I just have a lot of fun tinkering with that stuff and being able to see what you can do with it. And it's like, oh, I look so much better as an avatar. I should just do VTubing from now on. I don't have to wear makeup ever. This is awesome.
Yeah. It's like the upload upload podcast, which is all avatars, right? I'm still impressed in their tech stack. I still think it looks creepy as feck, but it's I like humans maybe a little too much.
Facial expressions can't
So-
quite be replicated on an avatar quite yet. We're getting close. Well,
No.
for regular people with normal money, normal amounts of money.
With normal money.
You know what I mean?
With normal.
I'm gonna use that from now on. I'm not rich. I just have normal money. Normal money.
Very good. Well, chat, let us know, again, what you thought about today's episode. If you have any questions before we dive out of here, let us know. I'll run down the show times, and then we'll get out of here. So the F.Reality podcast runs every other Saturday on YouTube and Twitch as a fortnightly show, and a roundup of future tech news with a couple of real characters, these two, and yourself, as your cast. The show starts at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, and 6 p.m. in the UK. We do have an audio version, which is on Spotify, SoundCloud, and iTunes, and we'll happily fill your ears anytime you've got a mundane task to overcome or just a long journey to slog on through. Like if you're on a plane to Romania, for example. Likes are great and all, but comments are where it's at. So we'd love to hear back, share your thoughts about what you thought, and we'll keep the good times rolling. So with that, Wolveraza said, Steam VR requires a lot of savvy. I loathe it, like one-click stuff. Okay. And D1360 said, reminds me when I used Wii remote controllers for PC gaming using Glove Pie software.
Yes.
Wow.
Ooh.
Glove Pie. Let's go.
You used Wii remote controllers, so the Wiimote for PC gaming. So wait, are you using like a nunchuck and a Wiimote, or is it just a sideways like stupid gamepad? How would you do that, Jose?
You can do both. The tool that he specifically mentioned actually uses the motion controls and actually translate them into actual like configurable movement. So you can actually like left, right, up, down. You can actually. Oh man, this is like teenage Jose technician stuff, but. There was like a really big scene of people that were like remaking like access controllers using Wii motion controllers by using candles or I was using candles because that's all I could afford. But you would literally put 2 candle lights on the ends of your screens and you made your own light bar. Because that's kind of how the Wii nunchucks would look for.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
that's clever.
People will reprogram them, make custom controllers. That's where the Dolphin emulator was using back in the day to kind of like get motion controls working before we figure it all out. Yeah.
Candles.
The candle hack. All right. And Glove PIE or Glove Pie software. Cool.
PIE. Yeah.
We learn something every cast, don't we? Anyway, look. Chat, thanks for tuning in. If you're listening back, thanks a lot. It's good to chatter about the latest bits and bytes relating to AI, VR, and AR. And Lad and Lassie, there you go. That was your single malt dose of the F.Reality podcast. We can get out of here. Let you get on with your Saturdays. All right.
Yay.
Thanks, everybody. See you next time.